We're just figuring out the tech here.
All right. The red's on, you're good. And then sort of keep the mic.
Hello, everyone. The special meeting of the Alcohol License Review Committee is called to order.
Do you want me to read this now? I've got something.
Go ahead.
Hello, 18. Hello, do we have names? Jim did give you the card.
Hello, welcome to our hybrid meeting. Participants in the room, please do not join the meeting in Zoom. Virtual participants, if you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link or calling the number in your original email. Members attending virtually, if you are able, please activate your video for purposes of quorum and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. Members of the committee, when you wish to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote, please push the person button on your microphone or raise your hand virtually. Those in the room will have their microphone turn on when they are recognized to speak. Those attending virtually can unmute themselves when recognized. When you are finished, please mute yourself. Members of the public who have registered to speak, those appearing virtually, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. If you are here in person, when you are called to speak, approach one of the two podiums on either side of the dais, and you will be recognized. For all registrants, the clerk will tell you when your time is up. After all public speakers, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the committee, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Thanks. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This meeting is governed by Robert's rules. Anyone wishing to speak will have to gain recognition from the chair. And after speaking, please return to your seat in the gallery. Do we have any notified absences?
We do not.
Okay. Then can you call the roll, please?
Yep. Glenn?
Present.
Yep, I saw you on that. Borashuk?
Here.
Farley? Farley's absent. Figueroa Cole? Verveer? Westra? I saw him there. And Carter? Absent. Okie dokie. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is disclosures and recusals. Any members of the body should make disclosures and recusals if they're required under the city ethics code at this time. Are there any disclosures or recusals? Seeing none. Next on our agenda is item number 2, separated liquor license renewal, Hayes Place, 1145 North Sherman Avenue. Is there a registrant for this item?
There's one registrant, liquor agent Connie Jones, who's here in support of her application.
All right. Ms. Jones, you can come up here. So you have 3 minutes. Tell us about your position on the separated liquor license renewal. Let me turn your mic on here.
If I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
You can tell the committee anything that you think would
Okay.
be important for us to make a decision today.
Gotcha. Okay, so Hayes Place offers the community a beautiful, safe space to celebrate special occasions and give them a place to come enjoy unique events. I did not fully understand my entertainment license in the beginning, so I was operating after the 12 o'clock restriction. I have since went away from that, and we now only offer the DJ from 9 to 12. I know that there is an issue with the parking lots. There is a lot of tailgating that happens in the parking lot. This is where people come and they sit in their cars and they party with no intentions on coming in to Hayes Place. Safety is very important to us. That's why we hire a security firm to secure the venue during our events. We have hired an additional security guard to help with the parking lot, and our efforts, I believe, are paying off because we have had no noise complaints in 2025.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for the registrant from members of the committee? If you want to talk.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, I have to. You're on, Attorney Zillivi.
Obviously, I sent a memo to the committee stating the reasons why this was separated. And there was never an intent to non-renew this license. It was just to bring to the committee's attention that they had been operating outside the bounds of the conditional use permit by having live entertainment after midnight. And Captain Gary and I met with the licensee on 2 different occasions regarding that issue. And the second time we met, I think we clarified with her that the condition didn't mean that she couldn't be open after midnight, just that the live entertainment had to cease at midnight. And the North District responded to many noise complaints and disturbance complaints at that location, primarily the result of people who were maybe going there and intending to be patrons, but were not patrons, but they were partying in the parking lot, drinking in the parking lot, playing loud music, et cetera. And so the police were responding to complaints in the parking lot. And Captain Gary, I believe, is in the meeting, and he can further address those issues. Oh, I see him. There he is.
Thank you. Captain Gary, are you ready to share right now?
Sure, I can talk a little bit about our response to Hayes Place on the north side. My first introduction to Hayes Place was in the end of 2023 when Captain Kelly Donahue at the time had been working with ACA Zillivi because Hayes Place was offering entertainment before they even had an entertainment license at that time. So I know that they were instructed to stop doing that. And then we did meet with them in June to kind of go over what the expectations were and how we could help Hayes Place be successful business on the north side. And we went over what that conditional use permit meant and that we felt that they were responsible for the activities that happened in the parking lot too during their events that were held at the shopping center. So I would say probably the peak of police resources was during the summer of 2024. And just to give a little context, for the North District, we only have 6 officers working overnight, 2 that work 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., and then another 4 that either work 10 to 6 or 11 to 7. So when they were responding to those disturbances or fights or noise complaints in the parking lot, that was sometimes taking up half of the officers that we had in the North District. And sometimes officers were coming from different districts to deal with some of the issues that were happening at Hayes Place. So oftentimes we would let officers know when Hayes Place was advertising events that we thought they were probably going to violate the conditional use permit, and officers would go there oftentimes to see if there was live entertainment outside the stipulated hours, and then they would let me know what they discovered when they were there. And I will say that Hayes Place has had very little police response for reactive calls in 2025, which I do think had something to do with the notification from the property manager about what would happen if there was continued issues at the shopping center. So those are some of the things that we have been dealing with from the police side with Hayes Place.
Thank you, Captain Gary. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. So can you tell me of all the calls that were reported on the area, how many times, and that's for the applicant, how many times did the police came into your business to address a noise complaint?
They have never came into our business to address a noise complaint.
Okay, and on regards to the people that you are the target for these events, can you speak a little bit more about that?
So we target,
Can you speak on the microphone? I don't know if
Maybe
it's-
you can push that a little.
is it on? I don't know.
It is.
Is it on?
It is on.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So our target audience is 30 and up for our entertainment events.
Okay, so that's, so there's not a lot of like younger adults parties or whatever. And how do you, what exactly is it that you guys offer to the community?
So we offer themed events. We usually have some type of theme, like a all-white party, a cowgirls theme, a 80 to 90s theme. We also do paint and sips. We do networking events. We do Finally Fridays, where we have a vendor come in and have food and play games and, have games available. So we do things like that for our public events. We're also available for rent. We rent our space for birthday parties, celebrations of life, baby showers, things like that.
So, and you mentioned food. Is this a restaurant?
No,
So it's not a restaurant, it's just like, you just have a liquor license to allow people to have celebrations, kind of parties, okay?
yes.
And you mentioned something about the security, so that is your own employees or a separate firm that you work with?
It is not our own employees. We hire a firm. The firm is called Guarantee Protections out of Milwaukee, and their staff comes down to secure the venue.
And the extra help for the parking lot, what exactly are they tasked with doing?
So at the end of our events, if female patrons want them to walk them to their car, they do that. They stand, they make sure that drinks are not being taken outside. If someone is out there, with their music loud, they would ask them to turn it down. If they're in their cars, they say, hey, either you come in or please, leave so we can keep this parking lot.
How long have you had that extra help?
Since the end of December, so basically 2025, we hired additional.
Was that in response from the attorney and the police and the landlords addressing you?
Yes, because we really, the parking lot we know is an issue, and we want this business to succeed. So we had to hire an additional police guard so they can protect the parking lot.
And when it comes to security cameras, do you have any access to the parking lot when it comes to security cameras?
Yes, we actually have two, one at the front door, and then there's one that points to the parking lot now. And we didn't always have that one, but there was an incident in the parking lot, and the police wasn't able to get any footage from any of the surrounding businesses, so we had the company come in and install an additional camera.
Do you cooperate with MPD if they needed that footage?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Zillavi, if you'd like to speak, press that button on your microphone so I think it's a human button. Yeah, it's like a kind of a diagram of a person. That way it lights up on my screen. I can see that you're seeking recognition.
Okay. So what the city is looking for is just to maintain the status quo at this point, to continue the 12 a.m. cutoff for live entertainment. And hopefully they can go a period of time, and it sounds like things have been trending that way now. And then when they want to seek extension of that limitation, if things look like what they look like now, I think Captain Gary would be in favor of that extension.
Is there a condition on the entertainment license?
I don't believe we put a condition on the entertainment license. I'm not sure that the committee was aware at the time of the conditional use permit limitation.
Okay. Thank you. Alder Figueroa Cole.
So this is a question for staff, for Jennifer. So would that be as a conditional? That we would put a condition that they keep the status quo, or can we put a condition, or can we just tell them that they can come back in X amount of months to change the hours of operations? Because I mean, I imagine the conditional use there is a conditional use for hours of operations today, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So are we saying leave that alone? Or can we be more specific about when can they come back to request for the expansion of hours?
And probably that would be a better question for Attorney McReynolds.
Okay.
Ms. Westra.
So my question, my question was around the conditional use, the CUP. Who controls that?
We can go to Attorney
Is that-
McReynolds to answer.
Yeah, is that zoning?
It would be. Thank you, Chair. I believe it's the Plan Commission.
Okay.
So, things go in front of that. I think to answer an earlier question, this body does not have any control over the CUP, the conditional use permit. But one thing that you could do is add conditions to the entertainment license that are the same as the CUP. And then the body has some more sort of, I guess, ownership or control of sort of that condition. So that if they come back again, then you could change that. I guess it is still going to be whatever the conditional use permit is. If that doesn't change, then they couldn't change it. But I think that you could put conditions on the entertainment license.
And just to make sure we're all on the same page, does any member of the committee object to us discussing the alcohol license and the entertainment license at the same time? Okay. Ms. Westra, follow up?
Yep. So actually, so I want to move that we renew both licenses, but the entertainment license will have the condition that live entertainment to cease at midnight on Fridays and Saturdays and 10 p.m. Sunday to Thursday. That way it matches the CUP and it will be posted within the business, so there shouldn't be any confusion.
Did the clerk hear that motion?
Yeah, just, so what I got was a motion to approve both, license, to recommend renewal for both, rather. The live entertainment, I thought it was to cease at 12 a.m. Friday and Saturday, 10 p.m. on Sunday. Is that correct, Ms. Westra?
Can you turn the clerk's mic on?
Yeah, professionalism.
I kind of heard you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. I was listening to you. So what I heard was to approve both licenses for renewal and to add the condition to the entertainment license that live entertainment is to cease at 12 a.m. Friday and Saturday and 10 p.m. on Sunday.
Sunday through Thursday.
Thank you.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. That motion is recorded. Let's, there's still more questions from committee members, so we'll go to Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Chair. Would you like me to second the motion first, though?
Yeah, you can if you're ready to.
I do have two simple amendments to the motion, but I also did have a question of the liquor agent, so I don't know which
Yeah,
would you like me to do
I
first.
prefer to do it to continue with questions.
Yes, that's what I thought. I just didn't want to leave Vice Chair Westra's motion hanging, though. Welcome back.
Thank you.
My very simple question for you is, do you have any objection if we add the condition to your license or licenses here to make it consistent with the conditional use permit?
So I thought it was already. So there's two different?
That's what the confusion, I
Yeah,
think
that's
it
where
is.
the confusion is, unfortunately.
Okay.
So your
Yes.
license, your current license is blank in terms of conditions. We have a copy of it here in front of us. And, you don't have a single condition on either your alcohol license or entertainment license. It's the condition that you're allegedly been violating is literally a letter you would have received in the mail from the planning department across the street telling you what your conditions are for the conditional use permit. And to answer Vice Chair Westra's question, although Attorney McReynolds already did, the Madison Plan Commission has continuing jurisdiction over that conditional use permit. And I can see why you would have been confused if it wasn't on your license.
So that would just be for entertainment license, right?
Well, it's a good question. If you would allow this chair, this discussion, my suggestion was going to be consistently what we do is we try to mirror the conditions on the two licenses. So your alcohol license and your entertainment license would have the exact same wording. And then you can come back at any time. You can apply to change your license conditions with the clerk's office and come back and visit us in the future at one of our monthly ALRC meetings to change those conditions. The issue is, because it's a conditional use permit, though, you also have to deal with the folks across the street as well in the planning
Which I'm
department.
okay with that. I wouldn't want my liquor license to have a conditional use because it wasn't there before. I haven't had any issues with that. It's just the issues with the entertainment portion.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I don't mean to be argumentative. Please don't take it as disrespectful or anything. It's just traditionally, and I've been on this committee for a very long time, we try to have the conditions be identical on the two licenses, if that makes sense.
It does.
Okay, yeah, so, we would certainly, if you came back and, continue to have, see improvement with that Captain Gary and others in the North Police District say, and the City Attorney's Office say what they're seeing, which we appreciate greatly that things have improved from where they once were, we would then change both license conditions. This is just the way we've done in the past. I'm not saying we have to do it that way tonight, but that be my suggestion. But anyway, my main question of you was simply, do you have any objection with the condition? You understand why we're doing it, just to try to make it consistent? And
I understand that you want it to be consistent, but I'm hesitant to say I'm okay with that. I mean, it's up to the committee, but
I think
would-
we can hear from Attorney Zilovy.
I think this situation might be a little bit different because I think they have events where they don't have live entertainment. And so then restricting them to midnight negatively impacts those events.
yeah, well, I apologize if I insinuated that you'd have to close by midnight on weekends or 10 o'clock weekdays. It would be the exact same language in the conditional use permit, that it would be live entertainment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I apologize if I wasn't making it
Is
clear.
it?
Can you explain again what you asked, Mike?
So I was going to second Vice Chair Westra's motion. I already did that. And my two suggestions were, one, to change the word, because it looks like that's what's in the conditional use permit, instead of at midnight and 10 p.m., by midnight or 10 p.m., just to do that minor wordsmithing. And then two, have the condition be on both of the licenses that we have jurisdiction over here. But the wording would be, as Attorney Zilovy has in her memo to all of us, and some of us can pull up the letter too, for the conditional use approval. But so it's simply live, quote, live entertainment cease by midnight on Fridays and Saturdays and 10 p.m. Sundays through Thursday. Live, not you would be able to, by state law, you'd be able to be open until statutory bar time. And I apologize if I confused people on that. No, so you'd be able to legally stay open until 2 a.m. Sunday through Thursday and 2:30 a.m. Friday and Saturday nights. You just couldn't have a DJ performing after midnight or, yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry if I wasn't very clear to anybody.
Okay, Attorney Zilovy.
I just want to add too that at the second meeting that we had with the licensee somebody from zoning was there, and they're the ones that do the enforcement on the conditional use permits. And he said that it's much better for it to be through the license than on the conditional use permit, because their enforcement mechanism is not much, and that it's more appropriate for the ALRC to have that enforcement arm. So it does make sense to put the condition, mirror the condition on the licenses.
Okay, thank you. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, it is. So following up on what you just said, Attorney Sylvie, so who rules here if the conditions are different? The ARC or the Plan Commission? If they come back to extend the hours and we said, okay, we're going to extend the hours to match your hours of operations, who rules when it comes to the entertainment? Do they have to go back to Plan Commission to make that change? They do.
Minor alteration. I'm sure it would be a minor alt.
And
And it, as Alder Verveer just said, it may be a minor alteration, which just would be more of an administrative type thing.
no money, no more, they don't have to go to the Plan Commission meeting, don't have to do a hearing, none of that stuff. Okay. I mean, just thinking ahead, we're making some changes coming down the pipe. Yes, okay. We're making changes to that process, and these are things are lingering that we need to address in the future, not just for them, for other people. So, okay, good. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Sylvie? Nope. Anyone else on the committee have questions? Ms. Westra, Alder Figueroa Cole.
So again, we put these conditions, we update them, we give them a period of time. We don't have to define the time because they can come back in, they can work with their elder to come back in 3 months, for example, and then request the time to be changed. Is that what we're saying that we can do? Okay, then I'm good to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Westra,
We have a motion but no seconds.
okay, well, I think I think that we can record the.
Revere's changes were friendly.
Okay, so we can
Super.
record the motion by Westra, second by Verveer. Would you mind
Happily.
reading the conditions one more time? Then we
Yeah,
will-
so the motion, as it was stated, is that both licenses, you would recommend renewal, and on both you would print the condition that live entertainment is to cease by 12 a.m. Friday and Saturday, by 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday.
Okay, are there any other members of the public registered for this item?
There are not.
Okay. Are there any discussion of the motion by members of the committee? So is there any objection to granting the, and by the way, as we normally do, we do things by unanimous consent, but as a reminder to committee members, anyone can request a roll call vote if you'd like. But is there any objection to approving the renewals under item 2 and 3 with the conditions as just read? Seeing none, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Okay. Okay, next on our agenda is item number 4. Item number 4, Chiba Hut, 435 West Gilman Street. Well, Attorney Zilli, could you explain why this was requested for separation?
Yes, thank you. When I originally prepared the memo, I was unaware of just how, for lack of a better word, bad things have been at the Chiba Hut in terms of public safety issues and police response and disturbances. So originally, when I asked that it be separated, I was aware of police were responding there. for fights, disturbances, sometimes involving weapons. And it was more, they were responding, the establishment wasn't necessarily calling these issues in, the police were responding to things that were happening. And recently, it's become more that the Chiba Hut is calling because things are seemingly out of control there. They don't have anybody checking IDs, there's no bouncer at the door, and they're in essence operating as a bar, not really as a sandwich shop. And so it's all those public safety issues that have been occurring, and there have also been instances of juveniles being in the establishment, consuming alcohol. And Captain Hartman, who's the Central District Captain, I think he can provide more detail about how things have been going at that establishment from a police perspective.
Captain Hartman, would you like to explain?
Yes, recently we've continued to see an increase and an uptick in large crowds there, mostly younger juveniles. It is seemingly a hangout place, given that there is not a lot of control at the access points. There are several entrances, as Attorney Zilvey was mentioning, that are not staffed. We have had patrons that have sprayed others with pepper spray. We have had persons that we have contacted that were known to be carrying firearms inside of the business. We have had several shootings that have occurred, damage to property to include the windows, some damage to the walls. We had a bartender that was recently struck in the head with a bottle, receiving injuries. So it's given the way that it's being run, it's just not good. And our officers are regularly putting themselves out there in preparation for these large crowds, these fights to occur, and more.
Okay, thank you. And so by the word juvenile, what can you define that for the committee? You, Attorney Zilvey?
Under 18.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we can go to our registrants. Who is registered?
Yeah, so our registrants are Heather Hoon and Robert Hoon of Milwaukee.
Okay, and that's you? Okay, please explain to the committee how anything you think will be helpful for us to make a decision.
Sure. So I'm Robert, my wife Heather. We have 3 Chiba Huts, 2 in Milwaukee, 1 here in Madison. Chiba Hut, is this maybe not on?
Here.
There we go.
Try again. I think it's on now.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So we have 3 Chiba Huts, 2 in Milwaukee, 1 here in Madison. The one in Madison has been here for 12 years. And we acknowledge that, especially since the first of this year, the crowd and there's been a change in the atmosphere in our restaurant. And to be clear, and I can provide full details on this, our alcohol sales make up roughly 15% of our revenue. So we really are a sandwich shop. But we've had some issues with especially younger people of late coming in. And we are totally on board to do whatever we need to do to change this environment and the way that these crowds are being prepared. And so some of this we've already initiated a few months ago, realizing that our management has been weak here and has not done a good job of enforcing what our policies are. We've hired recruiters. We have since found a very seasoned restaurant general manager that is in training in Milwaukee. We'll be going to Colorado for 2 weeks of additional training, and we'll be taking over in early July at this location. We've also hired an outside security firm that will man so we have 3 doors that go into the establishment. One of them, we're making an exit-only door so that it can still be used, for in case of emergency to exit, but you won't be able to enter. And we will have people, one being a outside security firm will man one of the doors, and then we'll have staff manning the second door. If you want to maybe mention some of the other things. Oh, we also just have launched something called Patron Scan, which, anyone that is served alcohol, we have a company-wide policy, and it's audited on a very regular basis. If I go in, they ask for my ID. So everybody is ID'd before they're served any alcohol, but we now have engaged a system called Patron Scan, which is used pretty widely here in Madison, where we actually will scan the ID in the event it's someone that has been alerted anywhere here in the city as being kind of a troublemaker. They'll be asked to leave. And then we'll also have those records in the event we have any issues with any of those patrons.
We also have since added in our capacity amount, posted in twice in the restaurant and then one outside on the patio. We are stationing that security guard in a position where they can see the patio as well as the inside of the store as well, and then having a separate individual at the other side and as another exit. I do know that we have said in the past that we would definitely, we don't want violence at all, and that if there is something going on, we do want them to call the police, because for the safety of the customers, the crew, everyone, obviously, but we obviously don't want those patrons that are challenging in our establishments. We're also going to be raising our prices on some of our bar drinks as well and actually we're looking at what level to make sure that we're not on a lower level and more comparable as well. Anything else?
Well, you can stay up here, and the members of the committee will ask questions as they come up. Attorney Zillavi.
If your alcohol sales account for 15% of your business, why do you want to have an alcohol license, given the problems that it clearly is causing at that location?
Sure. Well, so just to create some balance. So in 2024, our total alcohol sales were 13.9%, food sales 86.1%. So far in 2025, our alcohol sales are 14.2%. But it's one of the, so this is a national chain, and it is one of the things that helps kind of sets them apart as a sandwich shop. So if somebody wants to have more of a call it an evening dinner, and you'd like to have a beer with your sandwich, it really sets us aside from our competitors, which most national sandwich shops don't have that. So it is part of the overall national brand, if you will. But so if we were to lose, let's say 14% of our alcohol sales, but with that, we would probably lose with that another 20% of our food sales, which would make the whole business,
And
not sustainable.
why did you apply for an entertainment license?
I applied for the entertainment license to bring in, like reggae music, that kind of thing, to bring some Chiba vibe to Madison and have something for people to enjoy. And that would be in a 2-hour segment. For primarily, the one that we're definitely have was the reggae, and we're going to be doing that indoors and possibly on the patio. But
How often are you in Madison?
I'm here, once every 2 weeks. We have a district director of operations. He's here once or twice a week. At all different time periods, sometimes during the day. He's definitely been here at nights as well. And then, like you said, that we're also getting a new general manager to make sure to make some large changes, obviously.
Well, how involved with the business are you on a daily basis then?
Oh, I work on it every day. And with the 3 locations, he's more on the financial end. I handle, I'm in the stores with the 3.
She does all of the training for all 3 shops. She does all of the onboarding with employees. So she works with employees on a very regular basis.
And you mentioned the 3 doors and that the staffing of the doors, the closing of the one, is that something that you are planning to do or something that you are doing now?
So Bill's Keys Shop, which is actually just down the way, they are installing that this week.
So was that in response to having your license separated?
It was part of the plan. We we're also doing a big renovation that we're working on as well.
We just engaged an architect. We're doing a total remodel of the building, the inside and the facade. And so with this, we're rethinking the whole space and how it's going to be laid out. And the issue was with the door, that side door was something that we had talked about for some time, and we'd made a decision prior to the notice of this, but not literally a few days before, because there's quite a few things that we're working on changing.
And the patron scan, was that in response to being separated?
No.
When
This
did you
was
get that?
Initiated, well, you did it.
Well, see, it took, I want to say 2-3 weeks to get, I think 2 weeks to get there. And then training on that and getting it set up now.
So when did you put it into use?
Oh, it's into use this week.
And are you aware that if you are changing the interior floor space, you need to get the committee's approval of doing that?
Yes,
You aware
we're
of that?
working with a local architect who's very aware of all of the requirements.
Okay, and I just want to clarify that my comment about employees not calling the police and then now they are calling the police, that wasn't to say we don't want them to call, because we also want them to call the police. We don't want people to observe or experience violence or other incidents and not call the police. So that wasn't what I meant by that comment. What I meant was that the police were responding to seeing large crowds, to seeing fights there, and they were responding on their own. But now employees have been calling because they're experiencing that, I guess, more inside. So that's what I meant by that comment. I don't have anything else right now.
Alder Verveer.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Welcome. Sorry you're here in this circumstance. I don't know if you remember, but I used to be the alderman for the 400 block of West Gilman Street. In the last round of city council redistricting, I no longer represent Chiba Hut. In fact, Mr. Quito, maybe you could make a correction and register the agenda, which I realize you weren't responsible for, but notes that this is in the 4th district. It's in the 2nd district now.
And I think we should check the address that's listed on the agenda.
Was the address incorrect as well?
453 West
Okay.
Gilman Street.
In here, it's 435 West Gilman Street.
So many of the questions I had have been asked and answered already, so I won't repeat those. But it goes without saying that I'm, sad to see this situation because, and I don't mean to make you all feel guilty, but Chiba had never had this level, anything close to this level of calls for service or problems over prior owners. And as you know, you're the third round of owners, at least by my count, that I've talked to, worked with, secured liquor licenses for. In fact, when Chiba Hut first opened, they opened without a liquor license. Actually, let me ask a follow-up on that. Are you saying that it's the requirement of the corporate headquarters in Colorado that you hold a liquor license? You would lose the franchise without an alcohol license?
I don't believe so. I don't believe it's a requirement.
Okay.
But of the 78 stores that they have, there's only one that does not have a liquor license.
I see.
And it's in an area that they don't have, there's no liquor licenses available.
I'm curious, your 2 stores in Milwaukee, do they have anywhere close to these level of issues?
No, not anywhere near close, for sure. As you know, it's an area that, especially, late at night can get kind of crazy down here. And so it's, admittedly, we're responding to this change. And because it is a change, we're coming up on 3 years that we've owned this restaurant. And we have not had anything like we've had, since the first of this year. And so it's something happens one time and you think it's kind of a freak thing that happens. And, to get new management and to get them trained up and to get that all changed takes some time. And our district manager, who is a very seasoned hospitality individual who's close to my age, has been in the business for over 30 years, has been down here many days and many nights and working and training and developing the crew to give them that, we call it leadership courage, right? To identify issues and get in front of them. And in most of the problems we've had have been people coming in who are inebriated or, not from our establishment, but coming in under these conditions and creating problems. Nonetheless, we have to deal with it, and we're totally, putting ourselves in a position to do that. But even if we weren't serving alcohol, I'm sure we would get some percentage of this. I don't know what it would be compared to now, but maybe it wouldn't change. I don't know. But we are totally prepared to deal with this, and we are putting, we believe, all the right steps in motion in order to do so.
Yes, I appreciate that very much. And I will say from my experience downtown over the years that any establishment that stays open past bar time has a few troubles like this, considering the amount of adult beverages that are on board, your customers and so forth. But this is, pretty extraordinary, I hate to say. And you're saying all the right things, which I appreciate. You obviously are now taking steps to try to correct this unfortunate circumstance you find yourselves in. As of today, what are the current hours of operation that you're open?
So we're open to the public from 10 a.m. to midnight, Sunday through Thursday. And then Fridays, 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. On Friday and Saturdays.
Oh, at one time, though, you were open past bar time.
We are not at,
So since you two became the owners, you never have been open past bar time?
No.
no. No, and we also they used to be open till 2 on Thursdays as well.
Right, I remember that.
We have not kept that way either.
You've never been open
On Thursdays.
late on
past
Thursday
midnight.
nights?
Nope.
I see. What time does the bar close? Then the exact same time as the food service closes?
It's like 11:30, 11:45. They close, they close.
But on weekends? On weekends?
Oh, on the weekends? No,
yeah,
weekends,
the bar.
the bar would be at 2 o'clock or like 1:45, to get patrons out.
Okay. And what did you say, and I apologize that I didn't make note of this, and I know it was asked and answered and was in your initial presentation as well, your testimony, but what did you say the current alcohol versus food ratio is?
Sure. So for calendar year 2024 was 13.9%. And for so far, calendar year 25 through period 4, which is the end of April, was 14.2.
In your renewal application dated March 30th, signed by you, Heather, you state that the alcohol percentage is 18%. Where did that come from?
So because I took an estimate from the year, and it was I knew that we wouldn't be up to that point, but that's where that came from.
So that was the average, you're saying?
No, it was an estimate. It wasn't the.
Of what it will be in the future?
No. I'll explain.
Yeah. As she explained it to me, it was just what it had been on the previous application when she made the new one. She looked at it and she knew we were below that. So by putting it, call it at the higher level, she knew we would, with the idea that we would want to be below what we had on the application. So she used that higher number knowing we would be below it.
Okay.
Which we are, from all our P&Ls and everything, we are historically below that now.
Let me ask you this, please. When was the last time you were contacted by the Madison Police Department to discuss the issues they've had at the establishment?
The last time that we talked to anyone at the establishment?
Right. Like, has there been problem-oriented policing where you've received calls, emails from the Madison Police Department over the last couple of years saying, especially this year, as you've acknowledged, that we're having issues? Can we meet with you? Can we talk?
I haven't had one where they asked if they could meet with me.
It's just been to want video or evidence or?
There was a video surveillance request, which unfortunately I did not get due to the fact that it went into my spam, but my director of operations did get it. And that was on an instance that happened in March. But as far as other police contact, I haven't had any from that. We did, when we first started, or not first, I would say the year and a half, second year, we did have the police come in and help train our staff on security and how to handle line issues and things like that, because we had some patrons struggling, or some of our employees struggling with when you get longer lines and things like that. And they came in and did a presentation for us on that kind of thing. And that's where I knew that they had suggested that, making sure that we would contact them. And they're always, actually, honestly, they come within 4 or 5 minutes, so they're actually quite amazing. But as far as other contact, we had gotten a ticket in the mail, but beyond that, I haven't gotten anything else.
Was that citation for overcapacity?
It was.
Have you resolved that in municipal court at this point?
No, it's coming. It was recent.
You haven't entered a plea yet for that case?
Literally, it was in our mail today.
Mailbox today.
Oh, you just received it in the mail today?
Yeah.
So, okay. One of the allegations, besides the overcapacity issue, is that you've had at least one unlicensed, one day when there's been no licensed bartenders working.
So that has been rectified as well. All shift leads, everyone-
all management.
All management has, and bartenders have not only a course, but also their operational license as well.
When was that? What month was that addressed? Do you recall?
That was addressed in January.
So as of January, every single bartender and manager is fully licensed by the city of Madison?
They got like the license where you go in and,
The responsible beverage server course?
no, they had
The
that,
online?
but then they went in and did the operational, the provisional, I believe it was. And then all have gotten, since then, have gotten the operational.
So bottom line, every single
Every,
bartender and manager is a licensed operator in the city?
yes.
Oh, good. Thank you for taking care of that. And going back to the pending, and I realize it's not technically on our agenda tonight, but it would be at our next meeting on June 18th, the entertainment license application that you filed. Can you, and I don't mean you to repeat what you said to Assistant City Attorney Zillavi as to what your rationale is, but have you reconsidered that application given what's come to light, maybe more glaring in the last, week or so? Are you still planning to join us on June 18th and request an entertainment license?
We actually hadn't
Okay.
re-talked about that, but
I don't think we've had any incidences like what are brought forward here today, right, which are legit, real incidences. We in no way are denying any of that. But I don't think any of it's been we haven't had much in entertainment, but it's just kind of a key thing, or like a low key thing, not like drawing a lot of people in. And I'm not aware of any incidences during times of entertainment. The incidences have been more where we're getting people that are coming from the outside that, are already impaired and are creating a disturbance. That's where we've been having our issues. And again, we have to own that space. And which is why we're getting, or have hired security now to man those doors, to control who's coming into the space.
So on the entertainment further, you have offered live entertainment on West Gilman Street in the past?
we, as far as the entertainment license, we are, we've done like a small game night and that kind of thing. I know that there was, not this year, but another, a year ago, when Sophia was here, was with us. She had gotten a entertainment license for just a DJ show. I wouldn't want to do anything obviously like that with this, but in light of this, if that were something that we were to want to forgo, obviously that would be something that we would decide not to do if necessary.
So you're saying that you have had past live entertainment here in Madison at the store, and you believe that you secured the appropriate licenses for those occasions?
I believe there was. The general manager at that time had brought that up.
Now, can you, just out of curiosity, how often have you had live entertainment in the past year?
Oh, in the past year? Probably about 3 times. It was just something that we were starting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have live entertainment at your Milwaukee stores?
We have actually just started 2 different types at our Milwaukee North Avenue store and karaoke on our Kinnickinnick store, and have had success with it.
And drag bingo.
Yes, and drag bingo. That's at the Milwaukee store.
What percentages of sales, out of curiosity, would you say are alcohol at your 2 Milwaukee stores?
That would be a you question.
Yeah, so we call them Oakland and Bayview. So Oakland's near UW Milwaukee.
Yeah, sure.
Oakland and Locust. And that is probably about 2 points lower than what we are here at Gilman. So instead of 14, maybe 12%. And then our newest store is in Bayview on Kinnickinnick Avenue. And that one is down probably about 8% of overall sales. It's a smaller format.
Smaller format and a different community base. It's not in a college area. It's more.
Let me end with this question because I see there's others that wish to ask questions, and I apologize for talking so much. This is kind of parochial for me because, again, I represented this block for decades in the past, and I remember meeting you all in 2021, I guess it was, 2021.
Very late.
Yes.
But anyway, this is the big question. Would you be willing to voluntarily concede being able to serve alcohol up until the statutory bar time and say in an interim period, as you heard with the last license holder that was before us earlier on tonight's agenda, where I've said that, we invite them to come back after a several month period to reconsider their condition of license. Would you voluntarily agree to a condition on your license where you would cease the service of alcohol at an earlier time than, say, 2 a.m.? So, like, I'm just saying this aloud, but midnight, for example, so that we can see that all of these, what sound great, managerial changes you've made and hiring the private security firm and so forth, and hopefully working more closely and collaboratively with the police department. And by the way, this is no criticism of Captain Hartman. He's only been been working downtown as I still will use the phrase, Captain Newly Minted, Central District Police Commander, but working more closely with the community policing team downtown and so forth. But it just seems to me that number one, I think we should hold off on the entertainment license. I don't mean to prejudge you, and I'm not saying don't come back in a few weeks for that, but that a bona fide restaurant with the calls for service and the severity of the calls for service we see in the data that we have here, I just don't see it, speaking for myself, being able to grant voting as one member of this committee an entertainment license in a few weeks. So that's just number one. I don't mean to say that that's a definite, but then number two, it just seems to me for non-renewal, I'm not saying that we're going to move toward non-renewal by any means either, but short of non-renewal, the next kind of most kind of dramatic step, if you will, would be as if you would voluntarily agree to try to ease this transition where you prove to maybe some of the folks that are causing these problems that you're not a tavern, that you're really a restaurant. The sandwiches have always been amazing at Chiba Hut. It's what you're known for in my estimation, not crime or anything else, or liquor or maybe live entertainment someday. But it just seems to me that in an act of goodwill and what have you, if you would agree to voluntarily have a condition on your license, again, that you can come back and ask to change at any time, at this committee, if you agreed to cease alcohol sales at an earlier time than bar time, you would still be able to, you'd frankly be able to be open as a restaurant 24/7. It would just be the bar portion would close earlier. I don't know, what's your reaction to that request from me?
Well, it's actually something we've discussed ourselves in a way to be proactive as well, was discontinuing alcohol sales at midnight on Friday and Saturday night. So I don't see it as an issue.
I appreciate that. So you're saying that here on the record, you would voluntarily agree to such a condition?
Yes.
For now? I appreciate that very much. Thank you both very much. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'll yield.
I mean, 85% of our sales come from food, so we want to create an environment where anybody's comfortable coming in to get a sandwich and not dealing with ruckus. So, we have a very strong financial motive to get this straight because the food is where our revenue is. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Do you have a clarification of Alder Revere's line of questioning?
Yes, and also I know CPT has had many contacts with your on-site management. When they've responded to things going on, they have been in contact with management. So I don't know if management does not share that with you, but
No, and that's
Part of the reason he's
big reason
being-
that the changes are being made.
Well, there's lots of reasons.
Yeah,
but
but
yes.
that being a big part of it.
okay, because we presume that whoever is on site working and managing is somebody who the police should have contact with and somebody who has authority at the establishment. So
I understand.
and you mentioned that when you were talking about entertainment, you stated that you have not had issues during the time you offer entertainment. And when's the last time that you did offer entertainment?
You would know.
The last time that we had something was last game nights are usually like Wednesday nights.
I mean, like live entertainment.
Oh, we've
Like
had,
a performer?
oh, like,
Right.
I'm so sorry. We've had someone come in and do a two-person thing. Last 2 weeks ago.
Okay, and I don't think that you obtained a temporary license to do that.
No, I did not.
Okay, so you have been offering live entertainment and you haven't had,
Not consistently, but
but you have offered it and you have it planned for the future
we had talked,
without an entertainment license.
we,
For example, tomorrow, right?
no, not tomorrow.
According to the ISMAS, you have, is tomorrow the 29th?
Tonight.
Oh, okay, well then, tonight, you have,
We were supposed to, yes.
That's canceled.
or you're going to cancel it when you leave here, probably. But the point is, you've had live entertainment events with no license. You did not obtain a temporary license to do that.
Not in this case, no.
And are you positive that a temporary license was obtained in other instances?
I believe so. The general manager at that time period had assured me of that, so.
What time period are we talking?
When was Sophia there?
Through July last year?
She was there that long?
I thought so. Sometime in summer.
Yeah, July to maybe August.
Because the clerk sends that application to the commander of the district in which the establishment is located, so that would have gone to Central Police. And I'm pretty confident that it didn't, because I think they would have contacted me, and nobody contacted me about it, so I don't think those temporary licenses were obtained.
I thought it had been, and I apologize on that.
If I could interject, you're only allowed 5 per year by Madison ordinance as well.
Got it.
If you had more than 5 per year, they definitely were illegal.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Alder Glenn.
Hello. Thanks for coming tonight. First, I just want to say, as someone who's been in hospitality, restaurant management, I understand how hard the work can be. I do have a few questions, and this is gonna, I hope not to bore everybody, but I am one of the few that do not understand the setup of Chiba Hut. So can you, even reading through it, I don't know what, if it feels confusing. So it's a sub shop that has alcohol, but mostly sub, like restaurant. I could go into a restaurant and order a beer.
So so if you walk in, it's, you get to the queue, we have a menu, it's got about 30, 35 subs on it. You can order that and what we call, there's Kool-Aid and soda and all of that kind of thing, non-alcoholic options. But then across from that way is a bar where there are things served from alcohol, and it's a full liquor bar and crafted cocktails that we serve there as well. It's been what Chiba Hut has had since the 13 years.
Okay, so 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Is this so it's a restaurant that like families, kids come eat at, and then so thinking like a TGI's or something like that kind of a setup, like family.
It's more like fast casual. It's I don't know how the best.
So you walk up to the counter, you order. They give you.
Or you can order
like-
at the bar.
Like a tag that you take to your table, and then they bring the food to your table. So you don't
Okay.
order at the table, you order at the counter. They bring it to you, and then
Yes.
they usually come by, when everything's done and pick it up, or when you leave, it's kind of like, like how a Culver's works. You go into
Yes.
Culver's, you order, you go sit down, they bring it to you, and then when you leave, you might take your basket to the trash, or someone might come and pick it up. It works like that.
Okay. And when does it switch over to like what would deem it to have like these kind of calls? Like at what point does it not have like maybe a 10-year-old sitting in there, or is the 10-year-old in there at midnight if you wanted to bring them in?
Well, theoretically, you could bring a 10-year-old in at midnight, because it is, again, it's primarily, our revenue primarily comes from food sales. But given the location on Gilman, there aren't a lot of families and children to begin with. So in our other restaurants, you'll see a little bit more of a mix of families with kids. We're down here, we don't see it as much. It's just, I think it's more the nature of the neighborhood, that it's, young adults, professional adults, students, et cetera, that live down here, not a lot with children. But theoretically, they could come in at that time.
Okay. And are we making sure if I'm in the restaurant or I bring my 18-year-old or my 16-year-old, or there's a 23-year-old and a 16-year-old, how is it that we make sure they're not being served alcohol?
So one of the things that with having the patron scan, we're going to be carding everyone, and anyone that is also 21 and older will get a wristband after 8 o'clock. And then that wristband, if you don't have a wristband, you shouldn't have any alcohol or anything like that. And then, so that's how we were going to be working with that.
To be clear, any alcohol that's served, the person has to show an identification. That's a very strong restaurant policy. And as I mentioned, we audit that multiple times a month. So even when I go in, I get carded. So we don't serve any alcohol to someone without an ID. But for Friday and Saturday nights, what we had decided to do was that actually check the IDs at the door, and that anybody that's not 21, just as a kind of a second layer, so you'd have to have a wristband in addition to showing your card, which would then, or does get scanned into whatever that system is.
Patron scan.
Patron scan.
So on like Friday and Saturdays, it'd be more like a club kind of rules than a restaurant.
Well, we're trying to enforce those extra layers of security.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you look at our sales, even Friday and Saturday nights, it's by far, the majority is still food sales.
Yeah, I see. That's a pretty high number over in the 80s. So, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, because the worry always with the license is the idea of young people being in an establishment that kind of switches over to this entertainment kind of club idea. And I heard, you said you were going to be applying for entertainment license. And so I just want to make sure. So will the wristbands, is this a new thing that you're going to start? or you've already put it in place?
The wristbands are new.
Okay. And I heard you mention something about lines outside. You guys have lines outside? Heather, I believe you had said that with getting trained.
Oh, no, it was, I'm sorry, it was a line to get to the register. So when you walk in, there's two bathrooms and it's a little bit of a hallway. And while they're waiting for their food, it has had.
Thank you. That makes way more sense. I'm like, there's a line at the sub. Though I know there's good subs in Madison, but I was wondering that there'd be lines.
No, this would be,
Okay.
this would be that area in there. And then, like I said, we had some, them come in and help out with training, which was amazing, actually. And to help them learn a little bit more on how to handle line management and some of those other items too that go along with de-escalation and all of that as well.
Okay. Two more questions. So I heard you talking about building. Is this to make it more to fit into the entertainment license you're going to be applying for?
No.
Were you looking to make it more fluid for like more alcohol, more
No.
around kind of entertainment?
It'd actually be more the opposite. So in the back of the restaurant, so you can literally walk through it, from the front to the back. And in the back, there is an area where there's walk-in coolers, et cetera. So we're going to reorganize those coolers so we can make the dining room bigger. It's actually the area away from the bar to have more dining room seating. So, and then to just kind of, it's gotten a little dingy, so really just to kind of brighten the whole place up, open it up more, and make more room for tables in the dining area.
Okay. Thank you. The last part is so we've talked about the having wristbands and maybe you all agreeing to like maybe pulling back that license. So would you also so I heard you say about the time and start checking for IDs, and enforcing that around like what time did you say?
8 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays.
Okay. Thank you. That was very helpful. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. So I'm not going to ask all the questions that have already been asked. I think pretty much everything has been covered. So I'm going to just focus on the conditions that are being suggested. So Alder Revere already spoke about limiting the alcohol sales, which I think that's a good move in here. Was there a discussion about private security? Are you guys hiring somebody for that?
Yes, we actually have them. They're the Defense International Security out of Madison.
And is that a new thing?
Yes.
Okay, so it's recommended by the attorney to be a conditional use, to add it to the conditional use. Is that correct, Attorney Sylvie? When we said require a dedicated door person during certain hours, would that qualify also as a security person?
For a condition on the license? Yes.
Okay. Would you be okay if we add that to the license conditions too? To have a security personnel?
Or Friday and Saturday evenings?
I guess we can start with that. I don't have in front of me the calls to know exactly what they hire, what dates of the week is the higher number of calls.
I think I'd like to hear the captain's opinion on that.
All right, so just give me 1 second and then we can get that there. And then the other condition is to perform an audit, something that this commission has the authority to request, but we don't use much, and I would like to actually put an audit together because there seems to be some questions on regards of the sales percentage. Will that be an issue if we establish
Did you say an audit?
an audit of the percentage of
that's-
sales? Okay, so for the captain, on regards to the having a person there for security, what would be the most relevant time of the day that will support having less need for you guys to be there?
I would say at least by that 10 p.m. mark, and then going until closing. And I would also, if I can make a recommendation, maybe have them trained in weapons screening, since we have seen patrons carrying both firearms as well as OC sprays inside the restaurant, which they have used in the past. And knowing that we have stopped numerous people with firearms that were inside the establishment. And I think that would help curb a lot of the issues that have happened there. Once word starts to spread that they are being checked, that the business is taking safety seriously, and a lot of those things will go away.
So I'm sorry, I didn't write down all of that. So what condition would you put on regard to that training that you mentioned there? To be trained on, seem to be very specific?
Yep, 10 p.m. start time for security till close. And then that way, police will not have to be used to help get patrons out once the business is closed, which we've done in the past. So again, 10 p.m. till close for security, and then security staff trained in weapons screening.
Weapon screening, thank you, I didn't catch that. Okay. All right, thank you. Is that something that is okay for us to put in a condition for you? To be able to train, and I'm pretty sure MPD can, I don't know if MPD will be able to support in that training, or if they have any suggestions on where to go for that? I don't know. Is that something that you guys will offer to work with them to train the personnel for weapon screening?
Yes, we would be more than willing to meet with them, offer any suggestions of equipment that they can utilize, how they can handle these things, as well as the use of the patron scan stuff. Our CPT team is well versed in all of those things, so we are more than happy to provide that training.
Would that work for you guys?
We're already implementing it, so that's fine.
Okay. And so then lastly, I had to say, though, when the questions about the entertainment license were asked, it's kind of like I wanted to make sure that you understood what you were being asked about live entertainment versus just having a DJ. So I thought maybe you didn't know the difference, but I look up what you're planning for tonight, and that definitely is live entertainment. So I definitely advise not to cancel that, because it doesn't. I don't even understand why if you're already applying for entertainment license, you know that you don't have one. Why we had that schedule? It's kind of working against your credibility, because it doesn't look good. So definitely, please cancel it. And if you decide to come back to the ARC for an entertainment license as of for next week or whatever, I echo Alder Rivera's. I wouldn't be able to support that at this moment. I mean, the last applicant, we seen the data, but we also seen an improvement over 2025. So it has been that had a long record of police history that was pretty old, and we have seen improvement already. And here, we're having issues as of last weekend. So I wouldn't support an entertainment license either this early on the game. But if we are able to put something in, or the commission is able to set a clear set of conditions that you approve, I think everybody will be willing to work with you guys and see the progress on those improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Verveer.
No, thank you. I don't have further questions of the license holders. I do have a question or two for the captain at the appropriate time, Chair. I don't know if that would be now or...
It's okay. Let's see. Does anyone else have questions for the applicant? Okay. Then I think it's appropriate time for you to ask questions of the captain.
Okay, thank you. The first question, Captain, I have for you is I'm not personally familiar with Defense International, the private security firm that Cheba Hut is contracting with. Are you familiar with them, and what's your impression of them, if you are familiar?
I am not familiar with that security firm at this point. I'd have to look them up and see.
Okay. Well, at the appropriate time, it might be helpful if, it would be great if you'd let the license holders know if there are any concerns that you or anyone in the department might have with that firm. I presume that they're very experienced. I just have never heard of them personally before. The main question I just wanted to ask you, Captain, is kind of along the lines of what Alder Figueroa Cole had asked as it relates to moving toward a motion on the license, if there were other specific conditions that you or your colleagues in the Central CPT might suggest for conditions or the exact wording. Specifically, as it related to weapons screening, were you suggesting that a specific condition of the license be that they shall weapons screen all patrons after a certain hour, or were you just suggesting the training that you had referenced earlier?
I would recommend it for starting at a certain hour at least, knowing when the kind of the real bar crowd starts to hit that establishment, and having it at both doors that will be accessible for everybody. I think controlling the entrances into the establishment, that'll kind of really help set the tone and push away the problems that they have been seeing.
If I can just add in, just to clarify, we are only going to have, after 8 o'clock, one entranceway for one entranceway, with the exception of delivery drivers can come in the other entrance. The other way will only be an exit.
Thank you. I think that's a huge improvement. Not having folks come in off the deck freely. Yeah, the porch or whatever you call it. I call it a deck, but yeah. So Captain, just to drill down into the specific conditions, to confirm, so this would be Friday and Saturday night, starting at what time were you suggesting there be as a specific condition related to both private security and weapon screening? Would that be the same time or different times? Is your advice to us?
I would suggest the same time, so starting at least 10 p.m. I know that there's still a restaurant, if you will,
yes,
but given the issues that they have been seeing, I think implementing it at some time, and that 10 p.m. I think would be a good start time till close.
And is my understanding correct that the issues we have in that block are really limited to weekends? We don't have issues there Sunday through Thursday to any great extent, so you would be comfortable if this condition was Friday and Saturday?
Definitely on the weekends. We have seen issues during the week as well, but most issues do occur on that Friday and Saturday evenings.
What's your advice to us in terms of private security and weapon screening? Do you think we should require that on other days of the week, or?
Just Friday and Saturday for now.
That's what I thought. Thank you. Were there any other conditions, if we were to renew the license, that you would like to suggest to us, Captain?
No, I think as long as I would recommend the checking of the IDs at the door, and with security, having them trained to do all of that with the patron scan. And again, I think if we set the tone at the door, then that'll get all the other issues stopped inside.
We were intending, and just to kind of make sure that we clarify this too, is we were intending on having the entrance for entry being where the security person would be, you said off the deck, but at that back door there, technically is a back door, off of University. And that way the security can also keep eye on the patio too. And then the exit would be by the restrooms.
The Gilman Street side?
On the Gilman Street side.
Oh,
Is that making sense?
Even though your address is West Gilman Street, you change your entrance to University Avenue?
We wouldn't be changing the address, we would just be changing the flow for Friday and Saturday for that, to be able to manage that better. That was a thought that we had.
The idea being the security person would be in the back where they'd have a full view of the restaurant, control the entrance and the deck area. Just puts them in a more central location.
And then there would be someone at the exit door on Fridays and Saturdays for obviously letting people out that way, as well as count as well. And then the other side door would be emergency exit only.
So your current plan with this private security firm, Defense International, is to have one guard, not two? Would just be one security guard, and so from vantage point, that's why you're suggesting
One,
patrons?
yeah, so we would have one of our employees.
Your employees.
Posted at one door, the security person at another door, which would be the entrance, and our person would just be at an exit door.
I don't know, Captain, if you wish to respond, or now I don't know that we're going to have a specific condition related to which door is used, but or if we should have them meet with the community policing team in terms of the door issue, which door is best.
I don't think we need to establish that here in this meeting, but I think if we could meet and have our community policing team meet with you, your security, I think we could really help craft what that could look like and how it would best serve the security as well as the safety for everybody in there.
That makes complete sense.
And we're definitely open to finding the best solution. This is just what we came up with.
I'm sorry, Chair, that I'm going back and forth between the license holder and the captain.
I think it works.
Yes, but for Heather and, I can't remember, is it RC?
I go by RC.
Yeah, that's what I thought, RC, because I remember it was initials when we first met. Is Defense International now contracted? They're planning to start tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay. Tomorrow night will be their first time?
yes.
Okay. And I don't know if CPT are working this weekend or not, Captain, but perhaps if you could alert them, obviously, on the conversation tonight. For all I know, some of them might be watching us live as we speak, but you know, obviously, it would be great if the CPD could make initial contact with the Sheba Hut management and the private security guard tomorrow, if they're scheduled to work this weekend.
Yes, we can make sure that happens.
Yeah, thanks very much. So, Captain, you said that you couldn't think of any other specific conditions that you would suggest at this point, or were there any others?
Not at this point.
Okay, thank you. Could we ask the same of Attorney Zillavi? Could you review for us what specific conditions, given the colloquy we've had, the conversation, were you making a list of specific conditions you're recommending from your office? For renewal, if
Somebody at the door, and you mean beyond what's already been said? Because what I have is the private security, the weapons screening and training and administering. There's going to be an audit. I heard you mention ceasing alcohol times at a certain time. I think that would be appropriate. If nothing else, to see what impact that has on the issues that have been occurring there. And especially since, according to them, it's such a small percentage of their sales. And I don't, they mentioned that they're doing the wristband thing. I would make that a condition on the license as well. And in terms of ID scanning, not just at the door, but also at the counter. When somebody is ordering alcohol, they should be checking that person's ID.
Is it redundant if we do the wristband condition and the double ID checking condition? Or would you, I like the idea of the double ID checking, but if they're gonna be checking the ID at the bar every time you order a drink, what are the wristbands?
I know in other states, that's exactly what they do. Every time somebody orders a drink, their ID is checked. And I think that's a good practice. And I think if they were in fact doing that, that would eliminate the need for the wristband.
Okay. All right, where are we at? So Alder Revere, are you,
Their Vice Chair Westra at least is seeking recognition, sure.
we'll go with Vice Chair Westra.
Oh, you do?
I would like to keep the wristband condition even with the double checking because passing drinks to your friends, especially in a situation where it's a restaurant / bar, I think that's kind of where other restaurants have gotten into problems downtown with that. And at least the wristband, if you see someone drinking a beer who doesn't have a wristband, it's a flag for the security or staff to go up and ID them or have them removed from the premises.
Okay, thank you. Alder Figueroa Cole.
I forgot. Give me a second.
Okay.
Oh, I know what it was. Thank you. So let's say we set up these conditions that the wordsmith person is working on. What does that mean when it comes to enforcement? Like, when do we look back into this to see that things are moving in the right direction? Or do we do that, or do we wait until June 30th of 2026 to have this meeting again?
Well, they can come back at any time and ask.
To remove the conditions?
Yes. There's
So that's the
nothing that-
trigger? The trigger is for the applicant then to say, we're doing better, I wanted my conditions to be removed? Okay. Got it. So we don't proactively then go back and say, it's been 6 months and we haven't seen any change of improvement, we're going to take your license away?
Well, I mean, that happens sometimes. But for putting the conditions, I think it's reasonable to put the conditions on, and then if they want to come back at some point in the future and ask that they be amended or lifted, then we relook at it at that time.
Already, that was the question. Thank you. It was a process question.
Attorney McReynolds.
Oops, I should have let Amber answer that, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Chair. I did want to point out that, per city ordinance, the ALRC may require the appearance of a licensee at any time. So although I've never seen it happen, I've only been doing this for a while, it is possible that you could bring a licensee before you outside of just the renewal period. But I think more typically it's, when someone wants conditions off their license. Thank you.
Okay, Alder Revere. Are you ready? Oh, was that an accident?
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Oh,
Thank you. I actually have a question or two for Assistant City Attorney McReynolds, Chair, before a motion is made.
go ahead.
The first question is, Attorney, could you refresh our memory as to the MGO requirements for an audit? It seems to me that requiring an audit isn't an appropriate condition on a license, but rather it's a separate motion that the ordinance specifically requires an action of this body and concurrence of the Common Council in a separate
Yes.
motion or resolution. Could you
It's
find that for us?
Yep.
Thank you.
It's MGO 38.05 sub 10 sub B. And so it would basically be an order from the ALRC to the finance department to conduct a financial audit.
And is it
And
your,
then sorry, go ahead.
no, please, after you.
To determine whether a licensee is operating as a restaurant. And I can just keep reading it so people don't have to look it up. Such order may issue upon either sworn oral testimony, affidavit, or complaint establishing a reasonable basis to believe that the licensee's operations do not qualify as a restaurant as that term is defined in 38.02. And then there's some factors that you can consider when determining whether to order an audit. It sounds to me like, some of these have been covered. One in particular is a disproportionate number of calls for police or fire services than other restaurants. Let me see if there's anything else that you would need to do specifically. I think it would be a separate motion that you would, and then you would move to order the finance department to do an audit.
And just on that point, it's your advice, attorney, that under the open meetings law, the fact that this is a notice for non-renewal or separation, I should say, on the renewal, that's sufficient. We don't have to have it separately. That we'll consider ordering an audit be a separate condition on the agenda or agenda item.
No, I don't see anything in the ordinance that requires separate notice to consider a motion to order an audit. I'll just double check here, but I think as long as you've considered some of these factors, which I believe that you have in this long colloquy that you've all had, that you can do that without particular notice.
Thank you. And there's no allegation tonight that they are in violation of their specific condition, that they meet the definition of a restaurant as per 38.02 of the MGO. Is that an issue based on the audit requirement language in the ordinance? Or no?
I mean, the way it's worded, it is to determine whether they're a restaurant. Just double check and see. If there might be another way to ask for this. If it doesn't fit perfectly under this ordinance to order it, I think we could ask for a voluntary audit. And then in the meantime, no, I'm just going to stop there. I think if it doesn't fit perfectly under this ordinance, which I guess it does not, I think we could ask for a voluntary audit.
Thank you. On that point, Attorney Zilvey, do you have any thoughts in terms of the audit requirement language in MGO? And
I was just asking Attorney McReynolds on why she thinks it does not fit within it.
Yeah, well, because I'm just reading it. It says that the ALRC may order the finance department to conduct a financial audit to determine whether a licensee is in fact operating as a restaurant. Such order may issue upon either sworn oral testimony, affidavit, or complaint establishing a reasonable basis to believe that the licensee's operations do not qualify as a restaurant, as that term is defined in 38.02. Actually, I mean, let me just take another look at 38.02. I don't think I've heard tonight that it's alleged that they're not necessarily a restaurant, but let me just double check.
Does anyone have any?
Yeah, because our definition of a restaurant is whose sale of alcohol beverages accounts for 50% or less of the establishment's gross receipts.
Right, but we don't know really what the percentages are. We only know what they're telling us. And then if you look at the items that are listed as indications as to why you might want to do an audit, there are a few of those that are met here.
I agree with that. I guess I didn't hear that it was alleged that they didn't meet the 50%, but I also agree that, you know, it's kind of unclear since they haven't, I mean, you're right, we are just taking their word for it. You know, I think there's arguments that it could go both ways. One more sec, I'm gonna look up one more thing.
Okay, so for the sake of time, is your Alder Verveer, would you like to talk now, or do you want to wait till after this discussion is concluded? Okay. And so I guess I'll ask you, what time did we discuss that these conditions would kick in?
So our plan is 8 PM.
Okay.
I heard the captain say that he would like a condition of 10 PM.
Okay.
But our operational plan is 8 PM.
Thank you.
And if it makes it simpler, we totally volunteer to audit. So I mean, that's fine.
Yep.
If that makes it easier, we
Yeah,
have no
I don't have a problem.
we have no concern.
They'll volunteer to the audit.
Attorney McReynolds?
Thank you, Chair. So since they're volunteering for the audit, maybe, I don't know if that needs to be a condition, but then I don't think we need to get into the weeds of the specific percentages and the definition of a restaurant to fit under the ordinance. Does that make sense? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Alder Verveer, you ready?
Thank you, Chair. I move to renew the Chiba Huts combination B alcohol license with the following conditions. Number one, that the establishment shall meet the definition of a restaurant under Madison General Ordinance 38.02 at all times. Number two, that alcohol sales shall cease by 12 o'clock midnight. Number three, private security shall be utilized on Friday and Saturday nights from 10 p.m. until close. Private security shall be trained and screen patrons for weapons. Condition four, I would ask my colleagues or staff assistance on exactly, because I heard different ideas in terms of the condition relating to patrons being identified. And so why don't I make this a team effort, Chair, and yield to any of my colleagues here, because I heard different ideas in terms of the IDing and how many times a patron is ID'd and use of wristbands and so forth for that final, or further conditions, I should say.
Yeah, well, I'll just
And
say.
then let me just also say, Chair, that I would then be prepared, after we deal with this motion, to make a separate motion relating to the audit by the city finance department.
Okay. I was persuaded by Ms. Westra's comments about the ID checking, but Alder Figueroa Cole.
That's what I was thinking, is yielding to the Vice Chair or Alder Figueroa Cole on that question. Thank you.
Yeah, I think in this situation, I think it's appropriate. If we didn't have any issues, perhaps we can be more go easier. But yes, I think requiring the wristband as the management to underage drinking and require IDs to be checked at the time of sale, alcohol sale. Unless Amy has a different wording, that's what I got.
Nope, that works for me.
So what's the wording of that condition? Is that,
So utilize the patron scan to check.
Do we want to, I thought, can I just say?
So was it shall check ID at entrance and point of sale? Was that the?
Via a. Okay. Check IDs at both entry to the establishment and anytime somebody orders alcohol using a computer software system.
Okay.
That is intended for ID scanning. And for the licensee, I'm wording it like that because we don't want to advocate that you purchase a specific brand.
Can I English major that back and say shall check patron ID at entrance to establishment and with each alcohol order using a computerized ID scanner?
Perfect.
For,
And then.
See, Mom, it was worth it.
for our clarification, is it okay if the scanner is only at the point of sale? For us to have multiple scanners would be pretty financially burdensome. So if it's like they would check the IDs coming in, which is where they would issue the wristband, but then at the time of the point of sale, they would check the ID and they would scan it.
Right.
So separated, like at the wristband and then the scanner.
Yeah.
So maybe, so two sentences. Shall check patron ID upon entrance to the establishment and issue wristbands at each alcohol order, scan, and check, second sentence, and check ID with each alcohol order using a computerized ID scanner. If that is what you want to say.
So,
So you had the ID, you had your, whatever way they go, they have an identifier. And then even if you have an identifier, they're still gonna scan you.
right.
That's what we want.
Yeah, but
Either
the
you have-
scanner is at the bar
At the bar, yes,
and just look at the ID and give the wristband.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Captain Hartman.
I would recommend the scanner being at the door for several reasons. One, the scanner will let you know if it is a fake ID quicker, and helps the person at the door recognize if somebody is trying to get into the establishment and try to further use a fake ID at the bar. Second, the patron scan or the computerized thing would then keep a list of everybody coming into the establishment So even if that person were not to go to the bar, make a purchase, but they do cause a disturbance, are involved in something where police have to take action afterwards, it would be easier to identify them. So the patron scan or the computerized scanner of the IDs would be more beneficial being upfront at the door, and then a second check of IDs at the bar would be simple enough.
Does that make sense, you guys?
And also then, if they are connected with others downtown, they would be made aware at the time somebody's attempting to make entry if they've been an issue at another establishment.
So
Reverse it.
establishment shall check patron ID at entry using a computerized ID scanner and issue a wristband
For those 21 and up.
for those 21 and up. Yep. At each ID will be verified at each ID ID will be verified.
How about shall?
Shown. That's nice. At each alcohol order.
Okay. Alder Revere?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify one thing. As Chiba Hut is a bona fide restaurant, I don't want to give the impression that if you are under the age of 21, you're not able to enter and order food, correct? So I just wanted to clarify, I'm totally fine with the scanning being at the door, but individuals under the age of 21 would still be permitted inside to patronize the restaurant. I just wanted to get that out there because there was some language used a minute ago or two that made it sound like underagers. We want the scanning at the door so that underagers can't get in. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to get that
All
on
right.
the record. Thank you.
We're close to ready to
Would
read
you
the...
like me to read back the motion and see if someone wants to second it?
Yes, but Attorney Zilliver, did you have anything to say?
I do not.
Okay.
Sorry, I keep.
So the motion, the motion is by Revere. Can you read it?
So, Alder Revere moved to renew the license with the following conditions. One, the establishment shall meet the definition of a restaurant, and I didn't write down the ordinance number, but we know it. Yep. Two, alcohol sales shall cease at 12 a.m. So shall cease by 12 a.m. Do you want me to say midnight instead of 12 a.m.? Yes, I got the by. Number three, private security shall be utilized on Friday and Saturday from 10 p.m. to close. Private security shall be trained to screen patrons for weapons. Shall be trained to, and shall. Yep. Yeah. And a classicist next to me, so we can translate it into Latin if need be. Condition 4 is that the establishment shall check patron ID at entry using a computerized ID scanner and issue wristbands for those 21 and over. ID will be shown at each alcohol order, was our second sentence after we.
For the scanning at the door and the wristband,
Yes,
that's for the Friday and Saturday evenings during security, is that correct?
that wasn't specified, but that is a substantive question.
Can the question be repeated?
Oh, sorry, the question from the applicant was, we're talking about scanning only after 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, or is it the intention to scan it, like, at the door at all times?
We would scan, operationally, we would scan every ID check at an alcohol sale. If it's Wednesday at noon and someone's having a sandwich and a beer, we'd check their ID and we'd scan it. But as far as scanning at the door with the wristband, would that be just
What's,
during the Friday and Saturday during times of security, which operationally we're going to set up at 8 p.m., but you were talking about conditionally 10 p.m., but during that period of time?
Okay, let's try to get the motion properly before the body, and then we can debate that and ask questions. So is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Alder Figueroa Cole. And would you like to, your hand is up to
Can I
speak.
ask a question to the applicant?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I mean, again, I don't have in front of me the data showing me what are the times that you're having trouble. So I'll say for this period of time, we should use the best judgment and try to use all the tools available to us to encourage decreasing the issues that you're having. So if you're having issues from 10 to 12, well, fine. But if you're having issues earlier than that and you can avoid them, I just don't see I think it's a smart business decision to use the tools that you have at your disposal.
agreed.
Yeah. My concern would be Wednesday at 11 a.m., someone comes in, construction workers taking his lunch break, and we have to have someone at the door scanning his ID.
Totally understandable. So
Yeah.
it's not specified like that, so I think there's some freedom for you to do that and use your best judgment on when to utilize the tools.
Thank you.
That's how I see it unless, okay, yep, thank you.
Okay, Mike, can I look at your notes? Or,
Yeah,
or
well,
would the
good
committee
luck.
benefit from having him read the condition again?
And for the showing of the ID, I would say shall require patron to show ID anytime alcohol is purchased.
Yep. And it sounds like, just at the risk of editorializing, that maybe the body's pleasure is to have condition 4 be two separate conditions, one that has a time stamp and one that doesn't. I may have heard that. If I am over my skis, knock me down. So condition 4 shall be the establishment shall require patron to show ID at each alcohol purchase. And then the other part was the trickier bit about where a scanner is and where the wristbands are. And so what do you want me to write down for that? Currently, it is at all times checking at the door and using the scanner at the door and issuing a wristband.
Alder Verveer, it's your motion. Do you want to limit, is the intention to limit the conditions to
Ted?
to Friday?
Yeah. Well, it ended up including a condition number 4 when we got there.
Okay. Captain Hartman.
Kind of the common practice right now in that downtown area is that the patron scan is only utilized on the weekend hours. So that Friday and Saturday, if they were to choose to use it all the time, that's fine. But it would not necessarily be necessary to do it all of the time. So definitely on that Friday, that Saturday nights. But if they choose not to, that would be during that weekday hours. That would be fine by our standards.
Okay, Alder Glenn.
I just have, sorry. I just have one clarifying too, because I heard Alder Verveer bring this up, but I thought I heard the applicants say that on weekends they were only going to, so I just want clarification about age that will be allowed at all times in the restaurant.
Well, it's a restaurant.
I
So-
know, I thought I heard them say something earlier when they were giving testimony about on weekends not having people under 21 there. So I wanted to make sure with
Okay.
it being a restaurant that people would be able to come still. I thought I heard them say that. That's what I was trying to get
It's
clarification
never
from them.
been, it's never been a policy for us
Okay,
in any way.
thank you.
Okay,
I had misheard, my fault.
thank you. Sorry. Okay, that's okay. So I'll admit, I'm a little confused about this motion now. So we have a motion by Alder Revere, seconded by Alder Figueroa Cole. That doesn't, if I'm hearing this right, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not the motion that's being read is not your motion.
Well, to be fair, there's no such thing as a friendly amendment. So it's, if you wished, we could, technically what we'd be doing right now would be someone is instructing me, is making a motion to strike condition 4 as we crafted it and replace it with something else.
Yeah, well, my concern is that the motion, in order for it to be friendly, I think everyone needs to know what the motion is, and I'm concerned that that's.
So I think we can do the friendly thing, just if you read it again and.
Okay, which do you want me to read? What y'all just said you wanted instead?
With the input from the.
Okay, so what
Well, the motion before the body is a motion that Alder Revere made. That was seconded by Alder Figueroa Cole.
So.
If
By committee, remember?
Okay.
Since I yielded.
Okay, so-
Forward to the committee to wordsmith.
Okay, thank you. So in that case, read what the committee has kind of.
Okay, so yes, what I've heard, and so condition number 4, establishment shall require patrons to show ID at each alcohol purchase. Condition number 5, establishment shall utilize an ID scanner at the door Friday and Saturday, 10 p.m. to close, and will issue a wristband to those 21 and over.
Okay, that appears to capture everyone's intent. So we'll record it as moved by Alder Revere, seconded by Alder.
We'll deem the substitute amendment adopted.
Yep. So, is there any debate or discussion of the motion? Is there any other questions for staff? Is there any objection to granting the renewal with the conditions as just stated? Seeing none, the motion passes. The renewal is approved with conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you for what I'm assuming is staying late.
Yes.
This, well,
And I just want to reiterate that for your proposed renovation, that if you're changing your interior space, you do need to submit a change in licensed premises and have it go with the ALRC.
Okay.
Thank you.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Is there any other motions? Alder Revere.
Thank you. So pursuant to Madison General Ordinance 38.05 sub 10 sub B, I move that the Alcohol License Review Committee direct the Madison Finance Department to conduct a financial audit of Chiba Hut to ascertain their sales.
Okay, so moved by Alder Revere, seconded by Alder Figueroa Cole to order. Well, let me not try to repeat it without noting.
Finance
it.
Department to conduct a financial audit. Direct the Finance Department to conduct a financial audit of Chiba Hut to ascertain their compliance. I didn't get the, to ascertain whether they are a restaurant under section 38 dash, what do we got? I've got it written down.
Okay, great. Attorney McReynolds. Okay,
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was just going to help out and suggest we just mirror the language in the ordinance, which is to determine whether Chiba Hut is in fact operating as a restaurant.
okay. Alder Revere.
And Thank you. As part of the motion to further clarify that the audit would be from the time period 2023 to the present.
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone need that read again? I think it should be fresh in our minds. Alder Revere, do you have any further comments?
Just for the license holders, if the motion carries, then the staff from the city finance department will be in touch with you and as to how they wish to carry out the audit and what records they'd like to have supplied to them by your accountant or yourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, it's typically the POS system data, obviously. Yeah.
Okay, is there any further discussion of the motion? Seeing none, is there any objection to passing the motion, which would order the finance department to conduct the audit? Seeing none, motion passes. The audit's ordered. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is item number 5, the separated liquor license renewal for the Red Rooster.
So the registrant who specifically wishes to speak is Tim Payne,
Okay.
who's the liquor agent. And then there are other people in support and opposition available to answer questions. And do you want me to read them all, or just tell me when you want me to read them?
Okay, we can do that. We'll hear from Attorney McReynolds first. And also, Attorney McReynolds, could you discuss the wisdom of maybe taking up 5 and 6 at the same time in this case?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would recommend taking up 5 and 6 at the same time. The complaint that was filed by Attorney Zillavi includes both licenses, the alcohol license and the entertainment license, and they relate to each other for this business. So I don't see any value in separating them out. I wanted to ask, Chair, if you would like me to give a brief explanation of the process of a non-renewal complaint at this time.
Yes, I think now's a good time if there's no objection from committee members, which I see none.
Okay. All right. So this case is a little bit different than the ones that we have just gone through. So the ones that we recently talked about were not official complaints for non-renewal filed by the city attorney's office. They were separated so that they could be discussed and talk about conditions and things like that. This is sort of a separate process. It's a formal complaint with a summons. For anyone who wants to look at the ordinance, what we're following is a procedure under Madison General Ordinance 38.10, so 38.10 sub 1 sub E. And under sub E, the city attorney may commence this kind of a non-renewal of a license and describe why in the complaint. And then we're following the procedures in 38.10 sub 1 sub A and sub B. The reason I wanted to point to exactly where I'm going here is sub B 1, A and B. A is what happens if the licensee does not appear. That hasn't happened in this case. They're here. And B talks about kind of what happens next. And so when the licensee comes before the committee, this is sort of like an initial appearance for a court hearing, if you're familiar with that. So when you get, a ticket in the mail and you have to come to court, you go into court and the first thing that you do is just plead guilty or not guilty. In this kind of a case, the licensee received a summons and complaint. They come before you as the decision maker, and they can plead, for lack of a better word, that they admit to the facts alleged in the complaint, or that they deny the facts alleged in the complaint. And then really we would go from there. So tonight is not the actual hearing of the evidence. We're not going to hear testimony and hear from both sides. That would be something that would happen at a later date if it's necessary. But that's kind of the summary of what this procedure is and how it's different from what we just went through. It is a request from the city attorney's office to not renew. So it's different than what we did before, where we were trying to figure out some conditions to move forward. It is a request to not renew. Are there any questions from the members of the ALRC?
Are there any questions from committee members? Thank you, Attorney McReynolds. Ms. Westra.
Just one question for Jennifer. This is similar to what we did years ago with Visions, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
And Attorney McReynolds, so under this procedure, do I give Attorney Zillavi a chance to present the complaint to the committee before going to the agent?
I think the licensee can. Well, Jen, I'm just have what's happened in the past. I think it could go either way. The procedure does not spell it out directly of like who gets to speak first. It is her complaint, so typically the complainant would go first. So I would hear from ACA Zillavi before proceeding further.
Okay. Then are there any more questions for Attorney McReynolds? Okay. Attorney Zillavi?
I don't know if everybody has read the complaint or not, but when I read through the police report related to the incident that happened in December of 2024, I was basically horrified by what I read and the description of what occurred at the Red Rooster that led to a fatal car accident, and the bar manager being charged with homicide by intoxicated use of a motor vehicle. That incident caused me to look at the calls for service for this establishment and look into other police reports related to this establishment. And there were other instances of unlicensed bartenders and over-serving and some other law violations that are less serious than the over-serving and intoxicated patrons on the premises. Additionally, what was disturbing was on the night that resulted in the homicide by intoxicated use, the establishment had patrons inside after bar time, and alcohol was being consumed after bar time, and it was just such a gross mismanagement of the establishment that really resulted in somebody dying that night, somebody who was, I believe, on their way to work that morning. And so I felt it was appropriate to draft a non-renewal complaint and bring it to the committee.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Payne, are you ready to come up? So you received a copy of the complaint and the summons, okay.
Yep. Do I need a lawyer? I guess there was nothing in the complaint that addressed the procedure for how to continue, and I didn't know it was more of a legal style as opposed to just appearing before the ALRC, and I don't know if I could be incriminating myself.
It's on. Attorney Zillivi, did you have?
Well, I
seeking
mean, this is
recognition?
not a fact-finding meeting, as Attorney McReynolds stated at the beginning. It's for him to, at this stage, either admit or deny the allegations in the complaint.
Okay, so can you try to talk a little closer?
Sorry.
And so you heard what our attorney said. You're here to admit or deny the facts in the complaint.
Can I do them separately? I deny the complaint from November 27th. I was on the premises, and I have proof that I had 6 other employees on the premises.
Well, you don't have to go into
Sure.
discussing the evidence and things like that.
I admit guilt to being responsible for the events on December 7th as the licensee.
Okay. Attorney McReynolds?
Yes.
Do you think under the procedure we just discussed with you, is there any other things we're missing for right now?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
So I had not given thought to what happens if someone admits the charges in part and denies them in part. I just need 1 minute.
Okay, that's okay. Did anyone have any questions? Alder Figueroa Cole?
So I guess I heard that admitting guilt, but which part? I mean, like which part are we not admitting guilt? I missed that part of it.
You want me to repeat myself?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. There are allegations. There are a couple of allegations that are based on a police call that we made on November 27th with a belligerent patron that was threatening my staff. And the complaint that was given to me says there were only 2 employees on the premises, and there was no operator, licensee, or operator. And I was there as well as on my time clock I had 5 other employees, and then as the complaint says, my manager who's salaried, not on a time clock. So there's 6 employees and myself that night. And the complaint is, I would like to provide testimony that this gentleman was not overserved. So,
but today's not the day for you to provide testimony. Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. I think at this point, I think it would be appropriate to ask Assistant City Attorney Zillivi if she would proceed on the complaint without paragraphs 9 and 14, which relate to November 27th. And if not, then we would schedule an evidentiary hearing regarding that specific date and allegations.
Attorney Zillevi.
Yes, I would proceed without those two allegations.
Hey. So then the way that I understand this is that since the licensee has admitted the allegations regarding December 6th and 7th, then the committee can proceed on the non-renewal complaint. And to clarify, I am looking at Madison General Ordinance 38.10, sub 1, sub B, 1A. I'm sorry, 1B. If the allegations are denied, then you go forward with a subcommittee who, conducts an evidentiary hearing. But if the allegations are admitted, there's no need for an evidentiary hearing. The information that you would need to make a decision on non-renewal is in front of you in the complaint.
Okay, so he admitted to everything except for paragraph 9 to 14.
I believe so. I mean, I can do a quick double check and make sure there's nothing else that references the November 27th date in here, but those were the ones that I saw.
Okay. Alder Figueroa Cole.
So that I am clear, so we will then make a determination based on the whole package. And if we don't reinstate his license, then a hearing can be happened later per the applicant request. Is that what we're doing? And then the entire package will be discussed at that time?
What do you mean by entire package?
Like, okay, so we're gonna be talking about 9 and 14. That's the things that are still outstanding, even though when we make a decision based on everything here, not just on 9 and 14, right?
Well, we would have to exclude those. Our decision tonight would exclude the allegations in 9 to 14. Because he wants to contest.
I'm just trying to understand, I get it that we are some are allegations are taking ownership and some aren't. So why won't we just go to the hearing process directly? Instead of separating them? I'm confused, I'm sorry.
Attorney McReynolds?
Yeah, I think I can explain it better. So basically, there are, several paragraphs that Attorney Zillevi has alleged. And the licensee is saying he agrees with everything in the complaint except for number 9 and 14. And so instead of having a separate hearing on a different day, and if we did have a hearing about the facts of those two paragraphs, we would have to have a separate hearing on a different day. Instead of doing that, Attorney Zillevi is saying she will basically just give those ones up, and you don't need to consider those ones. So then she wants to go forward with the complaint with everything else that's been alleged from December 6th and 7th. Because those are the facts that have been admitted to.
Okay, so we are making a determination based on everything on this document except 9 and 14. We cannot look at those, it doesn't matter. Okay, now that I'm with you, thank you. Got it. Okay.
Okay, so there is one registrant for this.
Yeah, so,
I just, how do you want to proceed? Sorry.
Check with Attorney McReynolds on that, please.
Sorry, Chair, was that a question for me?
It is now. What?
Yeah. Yeah, we're in uncharted territory here for a lot of us. So, in quasi-judicial determinations or hearings, normally public comment might not be allowed. We saw a lot of public comment come in writing, and so I think it would be fair to let whoever has registered for public comment speak for 3 minutes. This is not testimony under oath. This is public comment like any other public comment you would hear.
Okay, I'm willing to hear from the one registrant right
great, and it may become moot, but, so the person registered as 5,6 in opposition and wishing to speak. So I see that there are people in the Zoom room. None of those names match it, but if one of them is the person who was wanting to speak on that, they should identify themselves so that we can recognize them.
Yeah, the person here that's in here as Mel just raised their hand, so.
Okay.
Okay, Mel, you have 3 minutes.
I apologize. So at this point, I feel like maybe it's in our best interest for me not to speak. I'll let Tim handle that. I am Nancy, actually. I couldn't get my Zoom to work, so I had someone else register. But at this time, I think maybe it's best that I don't, seeing that maybe this is going to go to another meeting or not. But I'm the main bartender here at Rooster, and I'm in support of the renewal, obviously, but I'm just going to actually just remove myself from the conversation, other than to say that, one horribly tragic night does not represent our business.
Thank you.
There are other registrants who listed themselves as available to answer questions, and so I could read their names between the two items. There's a Kelsey Miles available to answer questions, Lumi Paulson available to answer questions, Aaron Martin available to answer questions, Aaron Field available to answer questions, Daniel Resnick available to answer questions. And many of them are in the Zoom room, but I don't know if all of them are in the Zoom room.
Okay, Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just rereading the ordinance, and I'm sorry. I'm just rereading the ordinance, and the task that the ALRC has now is to make a recommendation to the Common Council on whether or not to renew this license. And I will say the reason this is kind of moving quickly is because the licensee has admitted to most of the complaint. So instead of having another hearing where you hear a back and forth about whether this is true or whether this isn't true, like you might, in a trial type setting, he has, conceded. that this information is correct. So then your task is to take that information and decide whether to recommend to the Common Council to not renew these licenses.
Mm-hmm. And just to be clear, it's your understanding that Attorney Zillivi is no longer pursuing the paragraphs 9 to 14?
Yes, that is my understanding, and that is what she said, but she can clarify that.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, do members of the committee have any questions or comments? It's taking me a second just to figure out what's in and out. Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. I know that, you've received the complaint, the members of the ALRC have received the complaint in advance, and, had time to look at it. But I think it could be appropriate if Attorney Zillivi wants to summarize anything that has been admitted to. If that would be helpful to the committee, I think that would be allowed.
I think that would be helpful.
So over the course of this evening, where the bartender on duty did not have an operator's license, and the bar manager who was there that evening also did not have an operator's license. The bar manager consumed 8 shots of alcohol, 5 brandy old fashions, at least a portion of a glass of Maker's Mark whiskey, and part of a beer. He is seen on video stumbling, falling down, repeatedly stumbling, obviously seriously intoxicated. And in spite of that, the bartender keeps serving him. The bartender's sister was also on the premises, similarly falling down, obviously intoxicated. And the sister and another patron were all on the premises after the bar should have been closed. And the bar manager was continuing to drink after the bar was closed. So over-serving, opened after hours, serving after hours, and I would submit that this is likely not the first time this happened at this establishment. And it's just, as I said before, it's such a gross mismanagement of the premises to have that type of behavior going on, and ultimately, because of it, somebody died. The bar manager blew a red light and hit 2 vehicles, and one of those vehicles, somebody died. The other person observed the other person dead in their vehicle, so a very traumatic event for everybody involved. And I just felt that having this type of evidence, I had a duty to go forward with a complaint for non-renewal, because again, just a gross mismanagement of the establishment to allow this type of activity to go on, and it resulted in somebody dying. And I have brought non-renewal complaints and revocation complaints before the committee before for, fights, disturbances, public safety issues, those kinds of things. And this is the first time that I have seen such clear evidence of over-serving, mismanagement, and it actually resulted, again, in the death of somebody, and I think that is significant and warrants non-renewal of the license. Very minimal compared to those allegations. The Department of Revenue did visit the Red Rooster in April and found violations on site. Empty liquor bottles that were not defaced as required by the administrative code, alcohol that was not purchased from a licensed wholesaler as required by the statutes, and the seller's permit and a current liquor license were not posted. And although, in my view, compared to everything else, those are minimal violations, I think it also supports somebody who is not paying close attention and is mismanaging their establishment. And I think that you have more than enough before you, particularly with the licensee's admission to non-renew the Class B license and the entertainment license. And I would ask that you do that. Thank you.
Okay, committee. So it's our task to make a recommendation to the Common Council about whether to non-renew the license, entertainment license and the alcohol license. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. I have to say, reading this report and listening to the summary, and the person who spoke, I just really want to make it clear that this is not a one-night event that, we're not talking about one night. There's multiple dates in this report, and it does shows a pattern of behavior that is disturbing. So I don't want to. I don't even know. I couldn't even figure out how to even try to make this work with conditions or whatever. Serving alcohol, it's an enormous responsibility. And in this case just demonstrate what happens when you are not taking that serious. And so I will, we can continue to discuss it, but I wanted to just immediately go ahead and put a motion forward not to recommend the renewal and take it from there. But that's what I am right now. So
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion was made by Alder Figueroa Cole, seconded by Ms. Westra to recommend non-renewal of both licenses to the Common Council. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question of our legal counsel.
Go ahead.
Attorney McReynolds, should the liquor agent be given the opportunity to be heard? Again, besides just pleading, entering his plea? I'd also remind you that he asked if he should be represented by legal counsel.
Yeah. So yes, I think it would be appropriate for him to speak if he wants to say anything to the members of the ALRC. There's nothing in the state law or the ordinance that requires or provides legal counsel for a non-renewal of a alcohol license. Having an alcohol license is a privilege, not a right. But I would counsel the licensee to avoid incriminating himself if that is something that he is concerned about. But if he would like to speak, I think it's appropriate.
Thank you.
Do you want to call him up? All right, Mr. Payne, come on.
All right. Thank you, committee. I would like to, yeah.
Can I ask Attorney McReynolds if he needs to be sworn in or not?
Oh, I mean, this is.
Sorry.
Oh, I just, it's not, spelled out exactly how this is supposed to work. If this were a hearing where he had denied things and we were talking about the evidence that he, wants to talk about to dispute anything. So I would say if there is going to be any dispute, then we have to stop and figure it out.
Okay.
But if there are non-evidentiary things that he wants to talk about, I don't think it needs to be under oath.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so are you willing to talk to us?
Sure. I just would like to say how awful the situation is, and it's made me sick to my stomach and sleepless for months. And I will say it doesn't represent a pattern. I'm there every day. I've been there every day for 4 years, and I was sick this day. And I went home early, and somebody died. And that's all I can say.
Thank you. Any questions? Questions from committee members? Okay, you can sit down. Are there any questions for the Alder Figueroa Cole?
So can I also get again clarification if we don't renew this license, how long before the applicant can come back and apply again? That's for Attorney
Attorney McReynolds, you can.
Yeah. One moment. I think I had this. So with a revocation, it's 12 months. I don't know that there is specific language about a non-renewal. I don't see anything specifically for a time period for non-renewal.
Is that something that we can establish then or not?
Well, I would say if you want to set a time, I wouldn't do anything more than 12 months because that would be, you don't want it to be more than a revocation. Because what you could do is renew the license and then revoke it. It'd be 12 months. So if you did want to say a certain amount, I would just say it should not be more than 12 months.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any further discussion on the motion? Any questions for the registrants? Okay, seeing no one seeking to discuss, We'll move to a vote. I think we should do a
Yep.
roll call vote.
So we're going to do a roll call vote on this.
Alder Verveer moves to recess for 5 minutes, seconded by Alder Figueroa Cole. Any objection? Seeing none, we will be back at 8:30.
everyone else. So with the motion that I made, we are not recommending the license to be renewed. And which then means that the applicant can, the next steps for the applicant will be to go to the common council and ask for a appeal of our decision here, which will give the applicant the time to discuss with a lawyer, to get prepared, and to do, to build his case outside of this current meeting. Is that correct?
So normally, yes. Although licenses need to be decided on renewal statutorily by a certain timeline.
What's the date?
June 15th, by state statute.
Okay.
So June 15 of 2026 now?
Chapter 125.
Oh, June 16
And
is
when
still
is the-
hasn't happened yet. Okay, let me see.
I'm just looking, when's the next common council meeting?
Looking.
Next Tuesday, this is on the agenda.
Okay. Yes, so I think that whatever decision or recommendation the ALRC makes tonight would go to common council for them to either accept, approve your recommendation or not. If they voted to do something else, I think that's their prerogative.
But again, the applicant has the right to go to that hearing and come prepare to make their case at that time. But at this time, again, I still feel that at this time I have enough information for my motion, but I also want the applicant to understand what that means, what the next steps for them is. And that will be, we have a council meeting on the 3rd, I think we said, right?
Yes,
June 3rd?
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, June 3rd, and the item is already on the agenda, and I will advise them to if they want to appeal this, then to go to that meeting and have a discussion. I will definitely have a lawyer present if that's what you guys want to do, but I just want the applicant to understand what the process is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be the next step in the process. I guess I, on behalf of ALRC, would write a report to Common Council with the ALRC's recommendations and findings, and then they could reject or modify that report. And then it does say, I think this still applies, that no further evidence would be allowed before council, but arguments could be made before council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or points of discussion on the motion? Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. Just to cover ourselves a little bit, could the motion include, wait, let me find the magic language here. I'm trying to figure out how to craft this. I think it would be helpful if the motion included, or we heard on the record, some language about
The health and well-being.
no, not health and well-being, but findings of fact and why kind of explaining why you are making the recommendation that you are. Because right now, really, we've only said like, we have this report and it's not being denied, but it would be helpful to have a little bit more on the record about why the information in the report leads you to the decision of making that recommendation. Hopefully that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I'm sorry, but that doesn't need to be in the motion. I think that can just be part of your discussion.
Oh, okay. So we just need to discuss it. We don't have to word it into the motion, but just state it here on the record that the agent doesn't dispute the facts, the majority of the facts in the complaint. Alder Figueroa Cole.
I mean, I think that's kind of part of the situation here, that it's already, there's an admission that these things happen. So I just don't, that's kind of why this decision is so hard. So I don't know what else is there to discuss, like go line item by line item when it was already established that those things are the statements are accurate. So if you want me to just include like the name of the report or something, or use those specific violations as part of the motion, I guess we can do that. There's quite a few of them.
Okay, probably okay if you simply say that the applicant stipulated to the numerous law violations as written down into the report. Is that sufficient, Attorney McReynolds?
I think it is. I think we're fine. And
Perhaps we can say I think for council to understand, I think it's a fair thing, like when we do with the notes section of it, that the applicant provided testimony indicating that they agree with the report with the exception of item 9 and 14. And due to that information, we're making a motion for not renewal. I think it is important to say that 9 and 14 were excluded from the discussion.
Okay. Attorney Zillevi.
Understanding that Attorney McReynolds is the attorney who's advising you, I'll just add my 2 cents in terms of what your charge is. So he admitted to those allegations in the complaint with the exception of paragraph 9 and 14. Therefore, your job is to determine whether the criteria to non-renew is met by what he admitted to. And I submit that it is met because those were all elements that can be considered for non-renewal.
Thank you.
Did you take those notes?
We're on camera. We can watch it back.
Yes, no. So I guess then the motion can be updated to say,
The Attorney McReynolds said it doesn't need to be in the wording of the motion.
okay, well then we leave the motion plain. But I think we still need to make some note on that agenda, the agenda notes.
Okay.
Where it excludes 9 and 14.
Yeah, and that was noted because that was part of the proceeding.
Yes, so just make sure that it's on the agenda notes.
And then whatever debate you have at council is your privileges
Yeah.
as that body.
Thank you.
So do you have something written down The motion is to,
recommend non-renewal of both licenses to the Common Council.
okay.
Are you ready to have me call the roll, or?
Attorney McReynolds?
Yeah, I think we've made a record. I think we'll be fine.
Okay. Okay, Alder Verveer.
Thank you. A question for Assistant City Attorney McReynolds. There are two issues I recall from when we've had similar proceedings in prior years. Obviously, it's been a very long time, but one is the committee often has addressed whether, and I think it might be a statutory requirement, whether or not costs may be assessed. And then also the requirement of signage in cases of non-renewal, suspension, or revocation.
Yes.
I believe though both of those are in the ordinance. And is it your advice that either or both of those be addressed in the motion or discussed as part of the proceeding?
I don't think the sign issue needs to be, because
Could we
the
inform
clerk's
the
office,
license holder though?
yeah, we would inform the license holder, and then they would get a sign from the city clerk to inform the public that the establishment has been closed as a result of a non-renewal. The cost issue, I mean, personally, that's normally when there's a whole separate hearing that's more of a trial type procedure.
Yeah.
I don't know that it makes sense to try to get costs from this. They may be assessed against the licensee. I do think the renewal application fee is forfeited. That seems clear from the ordinance, but it's up to the ALRC if you want to discuss whether a cost should be assessed against the licensee. I don't even know how that would. I mean, I suppose would be the time that it took Attorney Zillaby to write the complaint, maybe, and some other costs, but
We can ask.
My personal
I'm not
recommendation would just be to move on.
I'm not advocating that we assess costs, and I haven't heard
Yeah.
the city request costs be assessed. I just wondered if we need to make that clear on the record that we are not assessing costs, or or can we just be mute on that subject and not worry about it?
I think you can say. I think you don't need to include that as part of the motion. If
Thank you.
we wanted costs, I would put that in. I would
Thank you.
recommend putting that in the motion.
Since the license holder is still present, could you just, as a courtesy, explain what happens? Obviously not next, because you've already covered that ground in terms of the next steps of Tuesday night's Common Council meeting. But in terms of if the recommendation is adopted by the Common Council Tuesday evening, what will happen next, especially as it relates to the signage issue that I just raised? Do you have that in front of you?
My understanding is that
And further, what the license is still valid through June 30th, the existing license? Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it is non-renewed by the council, then you would be informed by the city clerk. You would get signage, and you'd have to post that at each of the entrances to the licensed premise. And there's a penalty for not posting that.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now I think we're ready to vote. If there's no more questions, comments? Was there a roll call requested? I can't.
There was quite a while back, before the recess.
Okay, then we'll do a roll call vote.
So on the motion to recommend non-renewal of both licenses to the Common Council, Alder Glenn.
Yes, I agree.
Chair Barashok.
Come back to me.
Pass. Alder Figueroa Cole. Aye. Alder Revere. Revere, aye. Chair, excuse me, Vice Chair Westra.
No.
Westra, no. Chair Borashuk.
I usually don't vote unless it changes
Okay.
the outcome.
Abstention noted. So it is 3 ayes to 1 nay. The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries. Okay, well, thanks for sticking with us. Let's move on to our next, and I believe is our final agenda item. By the way, my name usually doesn't get called in roll calls. So
Okay.
am I recorded as abstain or like typically? Okay, so.
Okay, not voting.
Okay. Seven Iron Social.
And Colin Smith is the
Colin
only
Smith.
registrant.
Come on up. First, we'll hear from Attorney Zillivi on why this was separated. Oh,
Oh, I keep looking at you because I thought you were the master of delight. So I assume that when this application was approved, that it was because the establishment checked the box that said they were a restaurant, given that they're in that zone downtown. And I don't believe they are a restaurant at this point, given how they operate. And the primary reason for the separation was related to that, and the fact that the establishment allows their space to be rented out, and in the past, they have not, they've basically ceded control of the establishment to whoever rented it. They didn't provide ID checking. Food was not a requirement of renting the place out. And so primarily, I think fraternities and sororities would rent the place out. And on one of those occasions, the Central Police District went in and there were, I think, at least 100 underage on premises. Most of them had been consuming alcohol. They were over capacity on that night as well. And so the question at this point is, A, what are they? They're not a restaurant. I don't believe they are a golf simulator facility. I think they are a bar that has some sports simulators. And as such, they should not be allowed to have the underage on the premises. And in fact, when the percentages were looked at, it was pretty clear, just on a more casual basis by the licensee providing the numbers. He clearly did not meet the definition of a restaurant by the numbers that he provided. And it appeared that the primary business was that of a tavern, not a restaurant, not a golf simulator facility. So I'm not asking that the license be non-renewed, obviously, since I didn't file a complaint, but would ask that an audit be conducted. And I guess I think that's the first step to determine what exactly his business model is, and then go from there. And there should be a condition regarding I mean, there shouldn't have to be a condition because the statute and the ordinance mandate that you do not allow somebody else to operate under your liquor license. And in essence, that's what your rental events were, is allowing somebody else to operate under your liquor license. So, and again, there was no food requirements for the private events, so I don't know if the committee wants to make that a requirement, or make food a requirement at all times. And I also have a question. Are you open right now?
No.
Are you closed for the summer?
Yes.
Like what, are you closed for what period of time?
Well, as of right now, until the students come back. As of right now, until the students come back. It's not feasible to run it when the downtown is struggling so much and there's no one down there.
And are you aware that we have an ordinance that if you're not operating for a period of 15 days, your license can be canceled?
No, so I have to stay open even when it's not economically feasible?
Well, that's what the ordinance says. In
my condition of the liquor license, because I didn't see that.
It's an actual ordinance.
Okay.
I mean, it's not automatic. I would have to file a complaint and have that done.
So
if you are suspending your business for a certain period of time, at a minimum, you should notify the city clerk that that's happening.
Okay. We've done it the last 2 summers and no one's been hurt by it or.
Well, it's not a matter of whether somebody's hurt. There's an ordinance that states that if you're not open for a period of 15 days, we can move to cancel the license.
Okay.
So it's just, and the statute has a similar, so you just need to be aware of that. So again, those are the issues, and
I mean, I guess we do have random private parties. I don't know if they're every 15 days, but I know we had one, I think maybe last Thursday, and I think we've got one in another week or 2. So it's not exactly 15 days, but yeah, I'm not open on a normal every single day basis.
and what's the status of your food service?
It's always open. Kitchen's always open.
But what do you offer for food service? Because you're,
Beans, fries, cheese curds, jalapeno poppers.
so not more like bar food, not a restaurant menu.
Correct. So we opened in 2019, at the end of 2019, after sinking about $700,000 into the development of the building. We also own the building. We own a substantial portion of State Street. And this was a second-story unit that was completely vacant. It had been vacant for 3-5 years before we purchased the building. We were trying to do something to bring back a non-vacant space on State Street, or a vacant space on State Street, and do something good for the city. And so we decided to do this. It had started out as going to be a restaurant. COVID hit 3 months after we opened. We had to close for COVID. We opened back up with the point of my wife and I opening it after working our normal 9-to-5 jobs. And, we realized like the food service, we had an expanded menu earlier on. It wasn't profitable. We were losing money right and left. We couldn't, like chefs are extremely expensive. The food costs are skyrocketing. We realized we were losing money right and left from that. And so we pared the menu down. And so you can still come in at any time. I welcome you, because you say you don't know what our business is, to come in and view it yourself.
Oh, I have been there.
Oh. Okay, so
But I'm saying based on police reports, based on everything I know,
so
it's unclear what your business model, whether it's, I mean, clearly it's not a restaurant. So it's a tavern with some sports simulators, basically.
okay, and yeah, it's hard to get that kind of food revenue. I'll be honest. I mean, we own another restaurant that is struggling right now as well, and we're literally just keeping it open because it's a neighborhood restaurant, and I don't want to see the space vacant. It's costing me $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year just to keep that open. And, you know, we're struggling with city ordinances over there when we're trying to make the patio nicer. You know, we can turn the space back vacant at 7 Iron. I don't think the city wants that. It's never going to rent out. It's a second-story space. A restaurant is hard on a second-story space. You know, we're trying everything we can to make a space that's usable downtown.
Well, as I said, I'm not asking them to not renew your license. It's trying to figure out what is your business model and then operating within the bounds of the law, given your business model.
Okay.
I'll yield to the committee at this point for questions.
Thank you. Alder Figueroa Cole?
Yes, so it sounds like, you know, rightfully so, we should be here today because, as you stated, you started as a restaurant, but things have changed since you asked for that application. And the definitions of restaurants versus taverns, there's really a big difference between the two of them. So it is really relevant to your liquor license when you apply for it. So it would be great to try to define that. It sounds like perhaps you were still a tavern. Looks like there was a tavern there before, maybe at some point. I don't know, but so that's kind of my first step. Like, let's figure out what your classification is, because unfortunately we do have to have a classification. And you started as a restaurant, but you just said that that's not profitable, and that's okay. But one of the things that kind of it's bugs me a little bit, and perhaps is you know, it's a she said, he said type of thing. But in the documents here, asks that or mentions that I'm just going to read it. Bartenders on site told the CPT that the bar policy is that whoever rents a space is responsible for policing the event for underage and capacity. Is that, how do you manage when you rent it for private spaces, for private parties?
So our bartenders still check, but yeah, the way that a lot of these Greek Life and other university programs are set up is they have a risk committee that they're supposed to put in place for, like, through their, can't remember what the Greek Life committees are, and they're registered parties. Risk management? Yeah, the risk management, but the governing body for, like, Panhell and IFC.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so the Greek Life has a managing body for each of the fraternities and sororities, and so they're registered parties. You know, we've done wristbands. You know, this was also back February of 2024, so a lot has changed since then. We also have brought on bouncers at every single day. You know, we've talked to the police department about what to do. We actually provided all of the videos for that night to the police department, and we showed that IDs were checked. We also showed that at the end of the night, when the police raided the bar, or the 7 Iron, they came in as a SWAT team. We had kids, like, handing IDs to other students. So we checked the IDs. They were being handed to others. That's why they said they didn't have IDs. We also have videos of the fraternity bringing in, like, the little shooters and beers and drinking those outside of view of our bartenders.
I guess maybe the attorney can explain, but I thought that when we license the place, we license it to you, and it's kind of your responsibility. So doesn't matter if you're renting it out. And I guess that's the part that through all this application, what I'm seeing is, like, a lot of misunderstanding of what the responsibilities of the license holder is, and even the definitions of a restaurant as you were discussing. So, I mean, I may be simplifying it, but I'm sensing that there's a lack of understanding on what does it mean to hold a license. Because pretty sure we license you, not the fraternities or whatever. So based on what you're saying, so is that a true statement, or is that still a true statement that
No, we have bouncers every single night.
so the bouncers then are,
They check IDs.
so, but are you I mean, like, are you still then responsible for, do you still provide it, your people are the one like managing the bar, the alcohol sales and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my staff is always there still.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, there's just those little pieces that it feels like there's no clear understanding, and I don't know how to support, how to, like, I don't know how to, if conditions will help to clarify what it means, or do we just set time to have this discussion? Like, I'm not sure.
I mean, have we had police incidences or people calling for paramedics? Because to my knowledge, we have not. I mean, has our business been a detriment or a struggle to downtown like the other ones that we've seen tonight?
It's more a matter of, are you operating it within the bounds of the law? Meaning, are underagers coming on premises and drinking, and is that happening because there are not appropriate measures in place when you rent it out to others? And that's not fair to others downtown who have liquor licenses who are abiding by the rules.
What about the other bars that have gotten raided and had underage? Are they up for this type of
Well, we're
review?
not talking about them.
Well, no, I'm just trying to figure out like what's.
It's like I said, you started as a restaurant, you've morphed into this other thing, and if you are this other thing, are you allowed to have underage on your premises? No. So it's figuring out what your current business model is and how you operate within that business model.
Okay.
So just getting to that point.
So it's not, just prior from this one, there's no comparison here. We're not trying to, just like the first one we discussed, we're not trying to close you down. And I think we all appreciate the economic development that these businesses bring to downtown. But it feels like there's a lack of understanding of the rules. And I don't fully blame you, because ordinances and statutes are very hard to interpret. But there's a level of responsibility as coming here to ask for a liquor license. There's basic information that you should be sharp about. And it feels like there's some level of lack of knowledge on those areas. So we're trying to establish here with the questions that the attorney has asked, are you a restaurant or a tavern? And based on our definitions, it sounds like a tavern. And then we can establish that, and from that say, well, these are the rules for the tavern, and we can discuss them. So I'm not sure if we are in that place right now to classify it as a tavern, or do we have more questions to make that determination?
I mean, so I looked, we are a little under that 50% mark. We're running at 45% non-alcohol revenue. And, I can work on changing that and trying to get it back open. We were looking at putting on an outdoor patio to expand the kitchen and other revenue sources, but it's hard to want to invest the patio is about $350,000 into downtown. It's hard for me to want to invest that money right now.
Well, it would be helpful maybe if you give a detailed description of what your business model currently is and how you carry out that business model specifically.
So, it's a lot of event rentals, it's simulator rentals.
And how do the event rentals happen?
People contact us and ask to rent out the spaces for their events, I guess.
Well, and is it I want to rent the entire place, how do I do that? And so if I call you and I say, I want to rent the entire place, walk me through what happens.
So we have a contract that the person signs, they pay for the event rental up front, and then that.
And is that just for the space? They're
That's
paying just for the space?
Yeah. So, and then food and alcohol are completely separate.
And is there an agreement on the food and alcohol? How does that piece work?
There's no agreement. I mean, we do 10-year-olds' birthdays. So I can't really say like you have to buy alcohol or you have to buy food. Like we do events for everybody. We've had UW, we've had Epic, we've had 10-year-old birthdays.
Okay, well then let's focus on the fraternities and the sororities and those types of parties. What is the contract the same for everybody?
Yeah.
And
It's a contract for renting the space.
because obviously some events are going to be more alcohol focused than others. I mean, a 10-year-old's birthday party is different than a frat and sorority event.
So there are certain times with Greek life, they even have higher rules of what their sorority or fraternity has to have on like a contract. So we've done that. We've had to get increases of insurance. I mean, we've gone through the contracts with them. We haven't had issues before. And I don't know, we're just trying to get a space where it's not solely focused on alcohol and it's giving people something else to do.
And what's the understanding for, in terms of, so you provide the bouncers?
Mm-hmm.
And
so we changed, like, we've been enforcing that. You know, this was February of 2024, so we've changed a lot since then. We've also seen 33% reduction in revenue.
And tell me what you've changed.
Because we're a lot more strict, this raid caused us to lose pretty much all of Greek life in events. And so we've seen a 33% decrease in revenue year over year.
And what did you change with your events after that?
Honestly, it was just everybody's afraid to go. And, you know, we brought in all the bouncers, we've got more wristbands. You know, we're checking everything. We're having lower size of parties because of the capacity requirement. We brought in sprinkler systems, found out that didn't help us with capacity because we've got to increase the bathroom count.
Yep.
But I'm not going to spend money on the building to increase, like put in more bathrooms if we're having these kind of issues. So it's hard for me to want to invest more money into this business. That's what's that's where I'm at with this situation right now.
Okay.
All right, further questions?
So the one for Hayes, aren't they also considered a tavern? Because they're not a restaurant, right? So they're a tavern, right? Can you explain can you just give a quick summary of what does a tavern means?
So I'll say right now, we can't be a tavern because we're in the alcohol overlay district, which was put in, I don't know, 10 years ago or something, that bans any new taverns on that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, thanks for reminding me of the overlay district.
And so that's one reason we put in the simulators. We were like, you know, let's find something that's not solely focused on drinking to put into this place. I mean, you're not putting in a retail space up there. You're not putting in a full-fledged restaurant. I was trying to figure out something to put in there.
So your business is it can't be a tavern. It's not a restaurant, right? That's what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
then it's a
saying,
golf
like, a
simulator
full-
and an event rental.
Yeah,
Okay.
which when I applied for the liquor license, they said that I could use the revenue from the simulators as part of the non-alcohol based revenue.
So how would you react if the committee ordered an audit.
It's fine.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Smith?
No, I mean, that kind of complicates my process here, because definitely you have very few options. You can be a tavern, therefore you have to be a restaurant, and how to, I guess, an audit will be then maybe a way to go to make sure that the sales of the simulators and the food, I mean, is that then, I mean, is that an accurate statement also, Attorney, that we will use the revenue of the simulators to add to the food part? Because I mean, the definition of a restaurant is 51% of food. It doesn't say anything else. I mean, it doesn't say, that's not even an ordinance. It's like a Wisconsin law. It's 51 or more has to be food.
I think
Sales.
Attorney McReynolds might have an answer to the question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so the alcohol chapter definition of restaurant is 50% or less of the establishment gross receipts are of alcohol, but also using the state definition. And the state definition is where their predominant activity is the preparation, service, or sale of meals. So, we're kind of, these are very overlapping concepts. We're talking about two different things, as the alcohol regulations and then the zoning regulations. And I think that it's pretty clear that the licensee has a zoning problem because he's there, because, as he said, it's the alcohol overlay district, and he's not using it in an approved use or permitted use. So I see Ms. Westra has her hand up, but I think I would recommend that there be an audit so that this body and also zoning can figure out sort of how to identify this business, and then assist the business in trying to figure out if they can legally operate, how they could legally operate there, might be a way to put it. And I do think that this meets the threshold of asking, or not even asking, but ordering an audit from finance, because it's definitely been alleged that this is not a restaurant. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Westra.
Sorry, I was going to move that for an audit.
Okay, so a motion to order an audit. Is that a second, or is that your
Oh, I can second for discussion, that's fine, sure.
Okay, seconded by Figueroa Cole. And you have the,
Yeah, so I do have the same question as before, like, so what does that mean for the continuation of the businesses? We're not revoking the license, we're not putting conditions, we're not doing any of that. We just continues until we do an audit? Is that what you said? Yeah?
Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. Alder Figueroa Cole, it's not an either or, so you can do an audit and put conditions. So, there is an opportunity for that if that's something that you would like to do, or you can just do an audit and then wait and see what the audit reveals, and then sort of make decisions from that information.
So bring it back at that time to summon him back to have the discussion at a later time after the audit is completed? Okay, thank you.
Okay. So moved by Ms. Westra, seconded by Alder Figueroa Cole, to order an audit. Alder Verveer.
Thank you. So in consultation with the Assistant City Attorney Zillavi, she's recommending that the audit period be consistent with the last audit we ordered tonight, and that be 2023 to the present.
Yeah, Ms. Westra?
Add that as a part of the
Yep,
motion.
that's perfect. Yep.
Thank you. And then if I could just make one point that folks might not be familiar with, and that is that my read of Chapter 125 of the state statutes is that underage persons are permitted in indoor golf simulator facilities. So I agree, as Attorney McReynolds stated, there's a zoning issue here. But in terms of underage persons on licensed premise, and I don't know if Attorney McReynolds wants to fact check me on that, but when I worked in the legislature back in the dark ages, my boss, Tammy Baldwin, sponsored a bill on behalf of a former billiard center downtown to allow underage persons on that licensed premise. And I know since then the legislature has expanded, and I just see that there's a very long paragraph in 125 listing all sorts of places, including, as I remembered, indoor golf simulator facilities where underage persons are permitted, I believe, generally to be on licensed premise. So I don't know that it changes the equation here or not, but I just wanted to clarify that I don't want maybe it to be portrayed that Seven Iron Social is this big, having all these underage persons and be a so-called third-party vendor for Greek Life and other UW-Madison registered student organizations, that it's inherently kind of illegal because they clearly aren't a bona fide restaurant as it relates at least to the statute and underage persons on licensed premise.
All right.
And I don't, if I could ask then, Chair, if Attorney McReynolds disagrees with any of my analysis on that point.
Yep, Attorney McReynolds.
While that is true, I think that there is some dispute about whether or not this is a legitimate, whether or not it qualifies under that statute to allow underage people. So I think that's just another reason why doing the audit would be helpful, to, see, is putting some machines for simulated golf into a bar enough to consider it to be an indoor golf facility. I think that's still kind of up for debate, or I think it's still kind of unknown. So I think that would also be a reason to do the audit, to figure out how much of the business really is about golf.
Well, so then what is like X Golf, Hook and Fade, Blind Shot? What are they classified as?
Let's not, but Alder Verveer, are you seeking the recognition?
No, you just, sorry.
Okay, any other questions, comments, debate on the motion? I'm going to try to remember how we worded the last audit motion. If someone has that handy. Oh, everyone knows, okay. Can you read the motion then?
I've got Alcohol License Review Committee orders the Finance Department to conduct a financial audit of Seven Iron Social Club covering the period of 2023 to the present.
Okay, thank you. Are there any Seven Iron Social? Are there any?
Well, I should say State Street Golf or LLC.
Are there any discussion? Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Seeing none, the motion passes. Are there any other, anyone want to make any other motions, or? Alder Revere?
I move to renew the Class B combination alcohol license with the condition that no patrons are permitted to enter or re-enter the establishment after 1:30 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights.
So that's already, we do have that as,
Right, it's just,
So renewing
Oh,
with the
okay.
same
we're
conditions.
continuing your
Okay.
condition that everyone has in that area, yeah.
Okay, so the motion,
Well, I'll wait for a second.
yeah, the motion was to renew with the existing condition, no patrons shall be permitted to enter, re-enter the establishment after 1:30 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights. Is there a second? Second by Alder Figueroa Cole. Oliver Veer.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask Attorney Zillavi, are we correct then? There's no other specific conditions of renewal that you're requesting tonight since we ordered the audit, or are there others?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. I just want to, yes, support the motion, but also advise to make sure to schedule a time with zoning to get these things sorted out. It's not just the audit, but really like go to the zoning department, make an appointment, and sit down with one of them to figure out what the best path for you is to continue.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think we're probably done.
Okay.
Thanks for staying. Oh, do we, we need to vote. Is there any objection to the motion to approve the renewal with conditions? Seeing none, the motion passes. License is renewed with conditions. Okay, so, let's see. There's no other business on our agenda. So a motion to adjourn would be in
Move
order.
adjournment.
Moved by Ms. Westro, seconded by Alder Figueroa Cole. Any objection? Seeing none, we're adjourned.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.